See you, Trudeau.
What's up? See ya. What's up, what's up, what's up? Hey, people. How's it going? I'm just chilling. Wait, I'm not doing this anymore. Let's see. Let me share this out. I wonder if I should even host a live today, or like just join somebody else's live. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate it. Shoot. Okay, hold on. Miss Penguins, good to see you. Good to see you. But I'm just playing video games. What's up? What's up? What's up?
I'm here for the drama. I did not come to bring peace. I came to bring a sword.
Yeah. I
Happy
am waiting for,
420.
I'm waiting for another clip to post on my TikTok.
Oh, is it being I commented on your last one. Is it being like approved right now?
What, the 420 post? Or oh no, I was just meaning like
No.
no, I was
I'm
just
thinking of your last post was your explanation.
no.
Okay.
I mean, there is a 420 one that like TikTok blocked, but then they approved it. But no. I think there is one more live I need to edit, and there's one more live I need to edit and make into a clip, I think, because last live was pretty funny. Oh yeah, Shark was saying like nuts on your chin or something, and you were
Oh
saying like
yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I need to edit that live.
Yeah, Geo's a B. He's a
Yeah.
French fry. I'm trying to do better. I'll try to start calling people French fries, Coco.
Oh, I literally don't care.
Okay.
It, it's whatever. I don't think TikTok cares about curse words, to be honest.
I don't think it does either, but you did say that like attacking people's character is something you don't want to really like have on your platform. And I know I do that a lot.
Oh no,
Um,
no. I was saying like attacking people personally, like taking digs at like their personal life. You know,
oh yeah,
you can name call or insult, but like no personal. To like don't like talk about someone's like ex-husband or something.
I got you.
Yeah. A lot of stuff going on with that recently, but a lot of people are like either getting canceled recently or exposed for something recently.
Yeah.
But
And I don't know what's happened, but and I don't know what's going on. I have more free time on my hands, so if you need help with your debates, if there's anything I can do, let me know.
oh, okay. I mean, for the most part, I got it like covered. The first event is like done, good to go. I just need to repost repost the promo for it. But yeah, no, not really. I'm chilling. I was on that one guy's live. You saw me on there, and then you asked me like, "Am I going live tonight?" And I was like, "Okay, maybe I should go live." But I was on there. He's cool. He's a cool host. I just kind of figured the other people were making arguments, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll just come back later or something."
And Tiny, I don't think you gifted Rod a lot of hot dogs, but I don't think that hot dogs. How much are hot dogs? Hang on.
I'm not sure. I think like 299 coins.
Oh, you gave him a lot of hot dogs, Tiny. The hot dogs are 10. No, not the glizzies, but it's called sausage on the gifts right now. You were given the sausages, and the sausages are $10, 10 coins a piece. And you gave Rod a lot of them. That's why remember when I was joking around saying like you're hitting Rod in the face with a bunch of hot dogs? But I thought that they were $1 or 1 coin. I know there's a glizzy too.
My pocket must have done that. Damn, was he like butt dialing gifts?
I guess. He was given a lot of hot dogs. And it wasn't consecutive either. It wasn't like one after it wasn't counting them all at once. Like it'd be three, and then it would say times like five,
Oh,
and then it would do another one starting at one and going to like 20.
holy shit.
Yeah. He gave a lot of hot dogs.
Oh, here, hold on. Let me find my. Oh man, I hope he didn't do what I think he did. Oh, okay, never mind. I don't know. I guess I'm just waiting for ops and just chilling, I guess. But yeah, what you been up to? What you been up to?
Not too much. I've been between jobs, so I've been enjoying the time off, but it's really hurt me financially. But I feel like I needed kind of the mental break. I've been thinking a lot because my son, he's 15.
Yeah.
He's very involved in the band. He's in high school,
Okay.
and I'm looking forward to getting like kind of taking a step down from positions I've done before and opening up more time for my son. Like
What is?
being okay with telling my job like I need off every Friday for every football game, you
What
know.
instrument does he play?
Oh, trombone. Did you play anything?
I was percussion.
Oh, were you? I was always a choir hoe.
Oh,
Um, but I never thought he'd go into music at all. But apparently marching band's a big deal. Hmm.
yeah. It's like,
His high school is a show style band.
oh,
I live in Alabama, so they're preparing for like Alabama A&M, which is HBCU. And I'm sorry, but there's nothing like a HBCU style band. Um, but
oh,
like they're amazing. But
yeah.
yeah, he plays trombone.
I miss those days.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you
but
buy? Did you buy his
huh?
trombone?
Yeah, I bought his trombone in middle school when he took a year to do they were offering like the trial instruments, like the ones that the actual band department owned,
Yeah.
like to see what instrument they wanted. He gave it a full year. He liked it, and I was like, okay, I'll buy it. I bought him as a king trombone. It's nothing special, but it was still $900.
Yeah.
Um, but I figured if it, like since I knew he liked it enough to where he wanted to do band. Now, when he graduates high school, um, I'll buy him whatever instrument that college requires if he goes on a band scholarship.
Oh, yeah.
But
Is
yeah, I
he?
bought him his own trombone. I can't imagine how much percussions cost.
Um, I forgot. We had to get like a xylophone, and like, I spent like a lot of money on just drumsticks.
Yeah.
Like each pair was like 30, upwards of $60, and you would just buy like a ton of different sized drumsticks for different like songs that you would play.
That's wild. What part of percussion, or is percussion its own instrument?
Percussion is like everything that requires you to hit things with sticks.
So did
So
you
like
kind of play everything in there, or did you play anything specific?
everything, yeah. We'd play like triangle, timpanis, um, the vibraphone, the I'm not sure it's called a xylophone, but like big, like like xylophone
Yo,
thing.
host, may I ask you a question, sir?
Sure.
Do you believe in God?
No, I'm agnostic.
Well, agnostic entails that you believe in one deity, at least.
No, it's more so I say I don't know when someone asks me whether God exists.
Okay. So if I give you like an argument, right, that entails the existence of God, like, are you gonna like accept God or just no?
I mean, it might like lean me in the way of accepting God, but I prefer to do like thorough research before I
Yeah,
accept Him.
definitely. I would agree with that, but like, not the Christian God, obviously. I'm Muslim, akhi. The Christian God, obviously. I'm Muslim, akhi. Like, so I would try to like explain to you why God exists and like from my Islamic paradigm, if you don't mind.
You can, yeah.
Right? Would you say that like by observing we can?
You can, yeah.
Right. Would you say that like by observing we can actually observe that there are things which are in a state of motion?
Yeah.
Okay, premise one, by observe we can see that there's things in a state. And potential motion becomes actual motion. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Premise three, only actual motion can convert potential motion to actual motion.
Say it one more time.
Premise three, only actual motion can convert potential motion into actual motion.
Oh, inertia changes potential motion into actual motion?
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Premise four, there cannot be actual motion and potential motion in the same time.
Say it one more time. They can't.
Premise four,
Say it one more time. They can't.
premise four, yeah. Potential and actual motion cannot be at the same respect.
Why is that entailed?
Because one entails the other, and the other converts the other. So it cannot be two in the same respect. It will lead to a contradiction.
I mean, there can be like actualized motion and then like potential motion, right?
Yeah, but the actualization of a motion, right? The actualization of a motion partakes when the actual motion transforms the potential motion into actual motion.
Well, yeah, but like you could have something like a car, right? Where like the car is moving at like 30 miles per hour, but it has the potential to go 60. So you have like actual motion and potential motion existing at the same time.
Yeah, but they're not in the same respect, because if you were going at 30, right, you cannot go 30 and 60 in the same time.
Okay, I guess, yeah, that's fair.
You understand what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, nothing can move itself.
Yeah, nothing can really, yeah.
Perfect. Therefore, there must be, one second, this was conclusion one, conclusion two, a chain of consequence with a being established prior is not going to lead to an infinite regress.
Say a chain of motion that is based off of a being causing the chain of motion is not going to lead to an infinite regress?
Yes.
Why would that be entailed?
Because an infinite regress, right, is going to be entailed just if there's not going to be a being, right, or some prime mover that established the motion. So, for example, numbers, right, they can infinitely regress in positive and in negative. You understand? Because there's not going to be a final point or like a beginning point for numbers. You understand? Mm-hmm. Therefore, in itself, if there is a being, right, a person with a rational nature, established prior the chain of consequence, therefore infinite regress cannot exist in that context. Would you agree with me?
I guess, but why should I even accept that a being like that even exists to begin with?
Yeah, I'm going there.
Okay.
Right. I'm just saying that motion, a chain of motion, cannot infinitely regress. You understand? That's the conclusion.
A chain of motion cannot infinitely. Why is that entailed?
Because I told you, with the five premises which I gave you, right, that entails the conclusion which I gave you right now, which you kind of agreed on them. So the following conclusions they just follow.
A lot of physics that's incorrect, though.
Well, yeah. So like
I don't really think so. Like in itself, what I have presented is not even from me. It's from the.
Well, like, yeah, so like I agree that you can't have potential motion and like actual motion at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So therefore, nothing can move itself.
I'm not sure that really entails that. That just entails that both can't exist, not necessarily that something can't move itself.
No, like we agreed upon that you cannot go 30 or 60 at the same respect, right?
Yeah.
Therefore,
guys.
Yeah, with the premise that I said, if you heard the whole premise,
Hold on. I want to be clear about something. So to be really clear, you cannot be 10 years old and 2 years old at the same time, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So that means you cannot do anything on your own.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, that's what I just proved it. You can't be 2 years old and 10 years old at the same time. So therefore, all of your ages have to come from somewhere, and therefore everything you do has to come from somewhere. Therefore, you can't do anything on your own.
No,
Bam, clear world
you didn't.
disproven.
No, because you didn't really follow the first four
But that's the
premises.
stupidest. That's exactly what you just said. You
Do
said
you want me to
because
show you the argument,
something
bro?
cannot be 1 meter per second and 10 meters per second
No,
at
Akhi,
the same
listen.
time,
No,
and
Akhi, listen. I
therefore
said,
the stuff about causality. It's not. Doesn't
no, Akhi, I said, one sec. It follows because every single premise which I stated, according to modest ponens, right, the inference rule follows. You understand? So now we are in the conclusions. The conclusions are going to be,
your premises followed.
yeah, it's a modest ponens. If A, then B, then C.
Yeah, and none of them followed. Yes,
How,
you can
wait,
just
okay.
assert that they are valid.
Can you
They are
repeat my
not
first
valid.
one? Can you repeat the 5 premises?
Yeah, you said because let's
What's
see,
P1?
one of them was
No,
that
no, tell
nothing
me from
moves
1.
itself.
Tell me P1.
No, I
What's
didn't
P1?
see from the beginning. I didn't see from the beginning. I saw like several of the last 3 or 4, but enough of them were wrong that I'm pointing out.
Wait,
that
so
your
what's wrong
conclusions
by
are
saying
incorrect.
what's wrong by saying that only actual motion can convert potential motion into actual motion?
I mean, that's just gibberish.
Actual
Why you being a sophist, sir? You being a sophist now.
Are you talking about potential energy?
I'm asking you
About
only
momentum?
No,
What are you
wait.
discussing?
I'm saying let me tell you the premises again. Premise 1: we observe that there are things which are in a state of motion. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, we agree with that.
Okay, so some
Premise
stuff has a
2.
velocity. Got it. So some
One
stuff has
second.
velocity.
Premise
Point
2.
one.
Yeah.
Some
Premise
stuff has
2.
velocity. I'm going to make it clear
Premise
because
2.
motion doesn't mean anything in physics. I'm going to say
Can I
velocity.
speak?
Do you agree with my statement? No,
No,
not
I
until we are
don't. I
clear
don't even know.
together.
Yeah. I
Some
don't
stuff
even
has
know what's
velocity.
I don't know what's velocity. English is not my main
Okay,
language.
well
so-
then we don't know physics, right? Like are you talking about motion, or motion doesn't mean anything in physics? Do you mean velocity?
Motion,
Like something is
motion
going
is
1 meter per
so,
second?
so motion is the actualization of movement. Do you agree
Yeah, what
with
does
that?
that mean? Do you mean
Right.
velocity?
So movement is an action. If the action is actualized, it's because
Okay, so an
actual
action is
Can I
actualized.
speak?
How
Can I
many?
speak?
What are the units of this? This
May I
actualization?
speak? May I speak?
No, because you're just
Why?
saying gibberish, and I'm asking you questions, and you are not answering them.
Which
They're simple questions.
they don't have nothing to do with my argument.
Okay, well then your argument is meaningless and gibberish. I am asking you to be clear about your definition.
I'm being clear. This is
Nothing
philosophy
you-
101. This is philosophy 101.
No, you're not. If I say what are the units that you are using to measure, and you cannot give me any units,
We're
then
not
you are not
measuring
talking about
anything.
something.
We're not
Okay,
measuring
so then we're
anything.
not talking about anything. Motion is not meaning anything.
What are you
If you're not
talking about?
measuring anything, then motion
Dude.
doesn't mean anything.
Can you define measure?
Yes,
Define measure.
gathering information from observations.
Okay, so we're observing that a movement, in order for a movement to occur, right,
Okay.
actual
What's a movement?
motion needs to be transformed from
Okay,
potential
hold
motion.
on. But none of the terms you are using are defined in physics. So I'm asking what you mean. Do you mean
I'm
motion?
literally
to mean
using
velocity?
basic philosophy, Akhi. This
No,
is motion,
This is not.
bro.
You're talking about motion. Are you talking about something
Yeah,
moving? in space?
motion is the entailment of a movement.
Okay, what is a movement?
What?
This is so easy. If you knew even the most basics of science, you could just explain.
Yeah, you're not dealing with the argument. I'm literally telling you that an actualization partaking with the movement, right, leads.
Okay, how can I
needs-
know if something had
Can I
movement?
finish? Needs.
No, because you cannot answer basic questions.
You're
How
not
can I know
answering
if
my
something had
question.
movement?
So,
Does a car have movement when it is driving?
I don't. Yeah, a car is moving. Yes,
Okay, how would I know how much movement a car is having?
because you're measuring that, right?
What do I measure when I measure the movement?
With your fucking thing in front of your car.
What's it called?
I don't know, bro.
A speedometer.
Speedometer. So when I asked you, is movement equivalent to speed? And you said no. You were lying to me.
No, because movement as a speed,
has
you
a
can
point.
measure the movement. But
You
I'm not speaking about.
lied.
I'm not speaking about measuring things. I'm speaking about how
I just
movement is
asked you, how
partaken.
does a car have movement? And you said you measure it. And I
Yeah,
said, what
but
do you
this
measure?
is
And you
has
said you
nothing
measure
to
the
do.
speed.
This has nothing to do with my argument, bro. You understand? I'm not
Well, then
measuring
what the
how
fuck are you
fast is
talking
God going.
about?
Bro, I'm not measuring how fast is going the movement, bro. I'm literally
Okay, then what are
teaching
you
you how
measuring?
movement occurs. In order for movement to occur, it must potential
What
must
is
become actual.
movement? Okay, what is actual movement? What is potential
Potential,
movement?
so a
Are we
body
talking about
has the
speed?
Can
potential.
we chill with this
No,
argument
because this guy
because
is a fucking
it's
sophist, man.
non-conducive to the topic.
Dude, you're a
So
sophist, man. In order for
This is
movement
my
to occur,
point.
you
This
know,
is my point.
in
If you
order
ask
for
even the most
in order
basic
for movement to
questions,
occur, it must be potential to actual.
sure, this is gibberish.
Potential is the state of a person which can do something. Actual is when the action
Okay.
is partaking.
Hey,
Therefore,
some of
for
us have
movement to
AirPods in.
occur, it must be potential to actual, and
Hey,
that's fucking premise too,
some
bro.
of us
hey,
have
ego.
AirPods in, and it sounds like your phone's in your throat. Like, can you
Yeah, because this
like
guy is
not?
speaking above me, sir, and that's mad
Above
disrespectful.
you. I 100% I agree with that. I'm speaking above you. Yes.
Damn,
Thank you. Can we speak one at a time?
that's crazy.
Thank you. So
Well,
premise
just put
two
a
now
full
finally
picture up and you can raise
substantiated,
your
right?
hand and be called upon by the host, and then you can speak. I will. What are you trying to say? Okay, so I got a picture up here from NASA. This here is that same Tic-Tac UFO that the Pentagon released video footage of 2.5 years ago. Look at this thing. Look at this thing.
Okay, look.
Now, this photo was taken by the NASA Mars rover in the year 2020,
Hey.
which
Yeah, I don't care about that. Can we
That's
leave me an
crazy.
argument,
implies
bro?
that
What?
the aliens visited Mars before they visited us.
Bro, can we
Look,
finish with my argument, bro?
That's great, but it's a little bit off topic, and we're not really
Yeah, can we
discussing
finish? I
that
don't
right
care
now.
about aliens, bro. Can we speak about my topic, please?
I have an objection to ego.
Maybe like some other
His
time.
topic is why should I return to Christianity? Atheism versus Christianity, which belief is better? So if you believe in atheism, you can also believe in what else? Aliens.
I don't care about the
okay?
aliens, fam. Wallahi, I don't
I
care.
think that aliens are much cooler of a belief system.
I don't care. I don't go have fun with
than
them, bro.
some
Go drink with them, bro. Inshallah.
misogynistic, weird deity
Yeah, why
that
don't you
wants
smoke
to
some zaza
impregnate
with your
people
aliens, bro?
against their will.
Why would
You know?
someone bloat their ontology by committing themselves to something like acting potency just to make sense of change?
Kishan, I'm literally using acting potency to prove the emotional argument inside used by Aquinas to prove that there's a prime mover in his side. Do you have any objection about the prime mover argument?
Yeah,
About what?
that was my objection.
Yeah, so prime
Or it
mover
wasn't really an
argument,
objection, more or less a question, but
yeah, so I'm using act potency in itself because act potency defines premise two. Premise two is just the movement occurs when actual potency converts potential potency, potential motion into actual motion.
Objection there. The objection is it's all gibberish. Genuinely.
Can you define gibberish?
You.
Words that
You're a
have no meaning.
sophist, man. Wallah, you're a sophist, bro.
What does that mean?
Yeah, let's go speak with your aliens, man, inshallah. Let me finish the argument, bro. So premise three, can I give you premise three now?
But it's gonna be more
Thank
gibberish.
you. Only actual motion,
This argument.
only actual motion can convert potential motion into actual motion.
Only what? Can do what?
Only actual motion can convert potential motion into actual motion.
Sure.
Okay. Premise four.
Get God, y'all.
What happened?
Premise four, an object's motion cannot be potential and actual at the same time. Right?
Sure.
Can I ask a question?
Therefore,
Yes,
nothing moves
please
itself.
ask a question. Get this guy
Therefore,
to stop
nothing-
monologuing.
Therefore, nothing moves itself. Therefore, there must be someone.
What was your
moves.
question, Consequence?
So I'm coming in here with
Yo,
respect.
host, are we having a conversation or you guys want to speak
Ego,
about
you're
fucking
just
aliens,
talking
bro?
to the wind.
Why don't you speak to the aliens, fam? Which you love so much,
No
bro.
one wants to care about your topic. It has nothing to do
Go
with this
speak to the
topic.
aliens, bro. Wallahi, man, they gonna give you much
The
money if you
physics
speak with them.
discussion has nothing to do with atheism versus Christianity.
I'm
Which
literally
belief is
destroying your
better?
atheistic views, bro.
All right.
You don't even know. You're probably on Zaza right now, bro. What are you talking about, fam?
What do you got against Zaza, bro?
He doesn't
Zaza
have
helps
is bad
treat
for your
cancer.
health, bro.
No,
Zaza is
it
bad for your
doesn't.
health, bro.
It doesn't.
No, it isn't. Not when you eat it, bro.
Oh, so you eat Zaza?
Of course.
Jesus
I love
Christ.
cooking with it.
This is
Go
just
to
American
Jamaica, bro.
stuff.
Go to their restaurants over there.
Wallahi, you Americans are crazy, bro. Wallahi, man.
Okay, now the racism.
How is that
Wow.
racism, bro? Wait, how is that racism, bro?
You're saying like all Americans are crazy.
Bro, you guys eat Zaza, bro. What the fuck?
You know, ego.
I
You
know.
got
He
right the
eats
ego.
Zaza.
She just
Look
said
at
that she eats
Ego
Zaza,
with
bro.
his ego. Oh,
And you guys
boy.
blame somebody from the other side of the planet when you don't even know us.
So can we
Okay.
deal with my argument, Toast, or are you gonna run away?
You don't
Yeah,
even
sure.
have an argument, bro.
So
You just
Well,
talk
we don't
in
hear that
semantics
argument.
that don't
All
have
I heard
any.
was crying from Ego. Ego, can you please stop crying? You're being very emotional.
I'm
Can
not
you
really.
define crying?
I'm not really into. Okay, wait, hold
Yo,
on.
Smoke,
Hold
can
on.
you define me crying, please, real quick?
Yapping.
Okay, hold on.
Yapping.
What is your point?
Wait, hold
Yeah,
on.
my point is that
Order
there
in
is
the
a
point.
prime
Order in the
mover,
point.
and that prime mover is God. That's the conclusion of my
Okay, hold on.
I would think the host is literally trying to talk.
Yeah, let's have some order. Let's run the argument. I'm not really interested in it anymore, but like, let's run it and see where this goes, I guess. I don't-
Nah, man. I asked you, the first question which I asked you is, if I present you an argument,
It's okay.
entails the
Just settle
existence
down.
of
Just
God.
calm down. Calm down. Calm down.
No, like, your little manipulation, gaslighting tactics does not work on me. I studied
Can you please
Machiavelli.
stop being emotional, please?
Oh, sure, buddy. I will, once you will find out where you get your morals from. Where do you get your morals from, sir?
Not morality.
Nature.
Gives you a stance.
Dude, even
Okay,
nature
so I
teaches
take my
us
morals
more.
from God, right? Where do you take your morals from? You take your morals from nothing?
Particular stance. My stance is from society and interactions. So we
Oh,
both
my
have stances.
question is,
Congratulations.
Sure.
Nature
Where
and
does the
nurture
society
teach us our
where
moral
does the
values.
society take the morals from,
Give
sir?
us our moral compass.
Usually from money today.
We were
Wait,
supposed to
where
get an
does the
argument for
society
God.
take the morals from, sir?
We were supposed
A lot
to
of
get an
people do it
argument
for
for
money.
God.
Yeah,
We're trying-
because this guy is gaslighting me, so can we speak or not?
Yeah, go ahead. Continue with your
Thank
argument
you.
for God.
Right. So conclusion 2, therefore there must be somebody, something which
One.
proves.
Wait, jeez.
Can I speak or
Wait, okay. Start from premise 1 again, because like
again?
I'm forgetting. Everyone, let's let him run his premises.
I'm just gonna mute myself.
P1. We observe that there are things in motion.
Okay, P1's good. Yeah.
P2. Movement occurs when potential motion becomes actual motion.
Yes, I agree.
P3. An object cannot be actual and potential motion at the same time.
I disagree with this one, but I'm gonna say yes, so we can get on to the next premises.
We
But yeah,
spoke about that for like 5 minutes, bro.
but anyway,
Can I
yeah,
add to
continue.
what he's trying to say?
Therefore, nothing can move itself.
Wait, how does that?
It can't move itself.
Wait, hold on. How
This
does
is
that-
modus ponens. The inference rule is a modus ponens. A entails B, which entails C. Therefore, the conclusion is followed by the first 3 premises.
Wait, but like, how does the premise that actual motion and potential motion can't exist at the same time lead to something cannot move itself? How does
Ego.
the premise premise
Law.
entail the following?
Like the law of gravity. Scientific law says life can only come from life, nothing dead.
Because in itself, in order for potential motion to occur, right, being the causation of everything, of the movement, right, actual motion, a different source, a different thing, has to convert potential motion into actual motion. Therefore, there is something which is moving something. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Identify the first something. Can you identify the first something?
Oh my God, man! Can I speak?
This argument is
Conclusion one.
confusing me.
Conclusion one. Therefore, nothing can move itself. Subhanallah, man. You atheist, fam.
But God can't move itself. Got it.
We're not even speaking about God now, man. We're not even speaking about God. We're speaking about physics, bro.
It's problematic to the view of God, saying that God moves itself. That would be
Did I ever mention
contradiction to your own
God? Wait.
argument.
Did I ever mention God, sir? Yeah, hush up like a good boy.
No, but this argument follows that God couldn't move itself, just
Okay,
based on
so
the
do you
premises and
agree?
entailments of this argument.
But wait, do you agree that God exists with this argument? Small. Okay, so why are you mentioning God the first time, dude? The fuck? You are an hypocrite.
What you're doing is talking about like natural processes and an infinite regression of causal events.
Oh
That's it,
yeah,
right?
definitely. That would lead to a prime mover. Yes. If you actually agree with me and you consider God exists, we can go further.
An infinite regression is what the entailments of this argument is.
Host,
No, the
can you
infinite
put my
regress.
picture up on the big screen,
A
please?
sequence of motion cannot infinite regress.
All the way back to the Big Bang.
It's
Yeah, we're
followed
beyond
the
the
conclusion.
incomprehensible.
The conclusion too is followed by. But if you agreed with the first four premises, the conclusion is
That
followed.
actualization and potential have been happening. Movement and actualization has always been happening. That is entailed
Yeah,
by
but
an
in
infinite
order for the
regression.
actualization to partake, right? Actual motion needs to convert potential to actual.
Look, Ego,
Subhanallah.
let's get down to the nitty gritty. What God here are you promoting?
Dude, I'm literally establishing the existence of a God, bro.
Okay, but what God are you promoting now?
Any God.
He's arguing for an
One
infinite
God.
regression of causal events.
Infinite regress does not exist in a chain of consequence which implies motion, sir. You should know that.
Beginning to this causal chain, then.
Yeah, the beginning is a prime mover.
I mean, like, you
For
have
that.
to, yeah, you have
Yeah,
to
the
demonstrate
evidence is gonna be that the universe is a contingent being.
Mm-hmm.
The universe is contingent.
Oh yeah.
Would you say that you agree
The
with
evidence
oneness?
is simple as that. Wait, I can run you some arguments. Do you want me to run the transcendental argument on you?
No,
The evidence
we've
for
heard that enough
things that are
times.
contingent, and like, can you provide anything that's non-contingent? Because I could
Yeah,
provide
there's gonna
multiple
be
things
yeah.
that are.
So wait, you telling me that the universe is assay?
The universe is what?
Would you believe? Is the universe assay?
What's that word?
Yeah, Small knows that. Is the universe assay?
It's the theological statement that it has a deity or authority, which hasn't been established. Yeah, that's a claim.
Yeah, so would you say that the universe has aseity?
Oh, aseity.
Doesn't entail that it has a consciousness or a mind or intentionality.
So I'm asking
or
you,
purpose
sir,
or
would you
telos.
define? So would you define the
That's my
universe to be
answer.
independent?
The universe does not have aseity, and aseity is an unnecessary property that you're adding.
Yeah, so therefore it must be
It exists because
contingent,
of
right?
design.
If it's not assay, therefore it must be dependent, right?
Can we go back to the Christianity?
It isn't established.
Yeah, but Small, if it's not assay, therefore it's dependent, right? According to the opposition, if it's not A, it's B, right? If it's not white, it's black, right?
What regard are you referring to in this argument? What
On
are
the
you talking
regard of the
about?
fact that if something is not independent, therefore must be dependent, right?
Interesting.
Do you agree with me, Ost? Wait, do you agree with me, Ost, when I say if something is not independent, therefore must be dependent, right?
In this realm,
I guess
So
that's
you just conceded
I guess that's a true
Small.
dichotomy.
My brother Small, you just consider on the universe to be contingent.
I didn't concede that the universe is contingent. I never
Okay,
did
so
that.
is the universe independent?
I think this is going to result in people.
That the entirety of the constituent parts that the universe is an independent system.
Oh, so would you say that space-time is independent?
it's unique, yes.
Is matter independent?
Sometimes,
Part of the realm.
yes, I would say yes. I would say yes.
So those three components are independent, which they compose the universe, right? So
How the three are, space and time are not
okay, so we
dependent
have
on anything.
so we have the universe being the composition itself that possess independency, and the
The
components of the
contradiction for
universe.
that. What's the
Wait,
contradiction in that?
Let me show you the contradiction, my boy. The contradiction is P1. The universe is independent. The universe is
P, that's not a contradiction. That's an
Can I
argument. Do
speak?
you have the
Yeah,
P
yeah.
not P?
Can I speak? A contradiction is P non P in the same respect
It's a
according.
proposition and its negation. In
Yeah,
this.
I'm giving you right now. So we say that the universe is in itself independent, and you say that matter is dependent.
Contradiction there.
That's P non P in the same respect. Matter and the universe are the same entity. Don't you think so?
So what was the P not P again?
How is that? Wait. P1, universe is independent. P2, a composition as the universe.
Wait, slow down,
Can
slow
I
down, slow down,
speak?
slow down. This
Let me
isn't a P
speak.
not P. This isn't a
Let me
contradiction.
speak.
This is an
Let me
argument.
speak.
What is the
Let
P
me
not
speak.
P?
Yeah, the P is that the universe is independent and matter is dependent. That's a contradiction.
The universe is independent, but matter is one of the substances within the universe that's not like the proposition and its negation. Try
You,
again.
you fall down for my trick. Now, can you answer for the other two independent things?
Fall for anything.
Yeah,
You're
you
still
just
not
fall
showing
down
a
for my trick.
contradiction. What
You
is a
just
contradiction?
a contradiction is just according to the law.
Contradiction?
It depends on how
I'm
you
actually,
define it.
yeah,
The
I'm
universe
actually,
is
Contradiction. What is a
independent
I'm
because it's
contradiction?
defining
unique,
that.
right?
Don't run,
But it's
pagan.
dependent
I'm
on
defining
God's
that.
will to exist.
Yeah, I'm defining that right now,
Okay,
pagan.
I'm not
A
really interested.
contradiction, according to Aristotle, right, is a P non P in the same respect. So it's
Not
going to be
if
a
it's
true
there.
proposition.
Proposition and its negation. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's a
didn't provide
true
that.
proposition. It's a true proposition and false proposition in the same respect. So the true proposition is going to be that the universe is independent,
Saying
right?
like the universe is independent but not dependent, that would be a contradiction. But we know that the
Yeah. So
universe is
is
independent.
matter?
Not
So what is
necessarily.
the universe? Wait. What is the
Is
universe
matter?
dependent
Is matter
upon?
dependent? Is
What
matter
is the
dependent?
universe? What is the universe dependent upon?
The universe
God's
is
will to
dependent
keep
upon
it
the
came into
universe is
existence
wait.
and
The
exists.
universe. The universe is contingent on God. Boom.
Yes.
What's God? What is God?
God's a
God is
person,
prime mover. God is
creator,
prime
the giver
mover.
of life.
Evidence for that. What is the
Yeah,
evidence for that?
the evidence is the motion
God's
argument,
tons of
which I
evidence
actually
exists
deducted
in
for that.
life itself.
Circular line of reasoning that is
Okay, can you
contingent upon
define
the
circular
argument
reasoning? Can you
demonstrating what
define?
God
Can you define
is.
circular reasoning? Can you define circular
I
reasoning?
think
The universe did
what
not
he's
come by chance.
trying
Using the conclusion to say that this is God when you're not providing what God is, and you're saying
Oh,
that this
you
argument proves
actually
God.
agreed, sir.
That's a
You
circle.
actually agreed with the
That's
four
a
If all
complete
premises.
about the
circle.
universe put in a washing machine, they
Wait,
would
wait,
not
but you
assemble
actually
themselves.
agreed with the four premises,
That's
sir. You
crazy.
agreed with the modus ponens twice, actually. Yeah, you did. Okay,
That
so
was
you deny.
hoax.
Wait. So which premise do you deny, sir? Premise 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Okay, so even if we provide these premises again, we're not showing a line of reasoning that reaches to God. You're arguing for an infinite regression. I've already discussed this with you.
No, the infinite regress is not going to be
Not
instantiated because a chain
arguing
of
for an
motion.
infinite regression. What's
A
the
chain
contradiction
of
in an infinite
motion,
regression?
a chain of motion has no infinite
Beginning,
regression.
a chain of motion with no beginning would be an
A
infinite
chain
regression.
of
What is the
motion does
contradiction
not,
there?
yeah, a chain of motion does not infinitely regress, sir.
Evidence for that?
Yeah, the evidence is simple. Let me give you an example. Like you as a human being, can you infinitely regress your motion or you gonna die one day?
It's not providing an
So you're
argument
gonna
that's
die. Wait, 1 second.
analogous with the universe.
One
You're
day,
talking
wait,
about a
1
human
second. Why
being.
you're running? Why you're running? Why you're running? So one day,
I'm
let
not
me
running. You're
finish.
just not
One
providing
day,
a contradiction and an
yeah,
infinite
so
regression.
one day your motion is gonna stop, which
Yeah, that's one
means,
individual, that's me, that's one
which
person. But the energy and consistent matter in the atoms that
which
exist
means
in the
infinite
universe
regress is failed,
don't
which
require a
means
beginning.
you're a pagan.
What is the necessity for a beginning?
Can you define necessity?
It's beyond comprehension.
It needs to exist. Like why do we need a beginning?
Necessity means to exist.
It's as
Wait,
far
wait.
back as we can
Necessity means to
comprehend.
exist. That's the definition for necessity.
Says, why do we need a beginning? What is the necessity
We
for
need
a
a
beginning?
beginning because in order to establish that we exist, we come from something, right? Everything comes from something. Don't you think so? Or you believe that
Yeah,
something can come from?
It's
Wait,
always
Smo.
been there. There's always
Wait,
been
Smo. Do
something.
you believe that something can come from nothing?
I mean, like,
I think
Okay,
that
so
there's
you
always
do.
been something.
Okay, so do you believe that there's something, right?
For a beginning, and why are you running from that question?
The necessity for a beginning is that the universe is a contingent being.
You haven't supported. What is the evidence that the universe itself is independent?
I gave you the argument, a deductive argument, modus ponens.
Demonstrate this argument is valid or support it. You're just making a claim. This is called an assertion. So outside of this baseless assertion, what is the evidence that this universe is contingent?
The assertion which I made was, one second. Can I speak? The assertion.
I'm sorry. Hold on. What is the evidence that this universe is entirely contingent?
Entirely contingent. If the universe is contingent, the entirety of the universe is contingent. Simple as that.
My argument, or give us a need for a beginning.
You didn't really give an argument. You asked a question.
Everyone says that the universe started from the beginning, right?
Can you give me a syllogism, please?
That there is no beginning. Premise one, there is no beginning.
That's a claim.
Premise two, there's always been things happening.
I
Conclusion, there is
reject you
an
one.
infinite
I
progression of
reject you
causal
one. I
events.
reject you one. I reject you one.
Okay, guys, I'm getting a little bit.
I reject you one. It's not true.
God's beyond comprehension.
Guys,
Can you substantiate P1 real quick, Smoke?
Guys, I'm getting a little bit bored, and this is not really going anywhere. So we could probably move on to any other guest.
I came up with
Smoke. Hush up like a good boy, because you got cooked, fam.
Can we go back to Christianity?
Yeah, go ahead. Take it over.
Here's what it is. The main enemy is yes. Yes, sucks.
My question is like first, I'll come in with respect, and I want to ask you what made you stray away from Christianity, so I get an idea of what I should talk about.
So yeah, I was Roman Catholic, and I took a job at a pizza shop, talked with some atheists, and they kind of destroyed it for me. Contradictions in the Bible, and God being described one way, but his actions kind of being another way, and just a lot of things that were unsubstantiated, and also the problem of divine hiddenness and the problem of evil are going to play into that.
I see. So it comes more from the moral perspective of things, I guess.
Not necessarily. It's kind of a mix of all things, but just a lot of things are not substantiated, and I found it more reasonable to trust science and empirical data than really the claims of the Bible.
I'm still new. I'm leaning into it myself. I was an atheist, but I'm not anymore. So my first claim would be that Jesus was real, and he was a historical figure, and he walked the earth, and there's evidence of him walking the earth, dating back to the philosophies of some philosophers who were mocking him, which were atheists. That would be my first claim about what I stand on. If that makes more sense. My bad.
I mean, typically I'll grant that Jesus existed. I just don't think he was divine.
Resurrected, dude.
You can't prove he resurrected. I can't prove that Jesus or God exists. We can give you evidence, though.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think the evidence would be?
I mean, you can. Okay, if you look at the Bible as what it is, as a historical document,
it's a claim.
Eyewitness testimony. No, well, it is a historical document of how it's written, right? It wasn't written as a fantasy of they walked off into the land of Nod and saw the Loch Ness monster. No, it was this place.
Yeah, it's just the same.
It's the same.
This, and this. No, it's not.
I kind of see it as maybe a fictional story that just happens to have real addresses of places. I don't really see justification for believing that the Red Sea was split or that there was a giant Egyptian exodus.
Right, New York exists, so does Spider-Man exist?
Yeah, it's kind of like that basically for me.
I mean, Spider-Man does exist conceptually, right? The fact that, but we don't have to get into that.
No, ontologically.
So,
Egyptian records show that the Pharaoh rode off after his slaves and never came back.
Say what?
Egyptian records show that Pharaoh rode out with his army, rode after his slaves and never came back.
Wait, what records are those?
What records are those?
Egyptian ones in Lexus on the stone, man.
What stone?
Yeah, you're gonna have to provide me a source because as
Why?
far as I
Yeah.
know,
Look that
you
up
don't
yourself. You haven't found that one. You need to do a little more study.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
no.
can
You
you
need to
tell
do
me?
a
Hang
little
on.
bit.
Can
History
you tell
records say
me?
that
Hang
Pharaoh
on.
rode after with
Can
his
you
army,
tell
rode
me?
after his
Hang
slaves,
on.
but he never
Wait,
Can you
hold
returned.
please
on.
tell me? Can you please tell me what I should type in my Google search to find that?
No, you can look it up yourself. Google.
No,
Okay,
you told us that
Use
you should
Google to
provide the
Wait,
find
source.
wait, wait,
it.
wait,
Yeah.
wait, wait. Hold on,
that
hold
was
on.
the pretty much like most basic question I could ask.
Well, yeah, you can't come
Go
in here
ahead.
and
Look
like
it
make
up.
a wait, hold on. You can't come in here and make like a bold claim, and then when we ask you to substantiate it or provide us with a
No, no,
source,
you
like
go ahead.
you don't have
I
anything.
know this for a fact. You just have to look it up.
Wait, hold on. No, the answer is not look it up, right? You don't just like tell us something and say like look it up. No, we're asking where did you learn it from? Where did you read it from? Because that's just being like disingenuous. You're
Right.
gonna
If
tell
you
us
made that
something and not
claim, you
substantiate
need
it.
to provide it to us.
Yeah, so like I'm saying that like I haven't read anything that would substantiate that there was a massive exodus from Egypt. I haven't come across any literature or anything that would substantiate that. You're saying that there's something out there. So please provide what it is that you read that's a credible source that is going to give some kind of credibility to the possibility that like there's a mass exodus from Egypt and it was a bunch of like Jewish slaves. So I'm looking for the substantiation for that, not just a claim and look it up.
All right. Can we go back to the topic at hand again?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that point is dead.
Yeah. So, we were talking about the resurrection. I'm pretty sure, right? I would say that the evidence within the resurrection would be the Bible itself, because it's eyewitness testimony of a historic event.
Actually, that's a lie. The Bible, one, the Bible is a claim. Two, there's a lot of claim to be 500 witnesses. We don't know those names of the people. And two, the resurrection story actually copies off of old Mesopotamian legend from a god called Inanna. Allegedly, she went to the underworld for her sister. Her sister ends up hanging her. And she ends up resurrecting in 3 days and 3 nights, just like Jesus did, right?
Straw man. It really has nothing to do with the actual argument, though.
Yeah, but when 5,000 people saw Jesus resurrect Lazarus from the dead, who was very famous, everyone knew he was dead.
500, correct. It was actually 500. And what is the evidence of those people? We don't. What are the names of all those 500 people?
So I would say
Who were like contracted to murder Jesus and Lazarus because he was costing them money.
Wait, where are you getting these?
You guys gotta go back and do a little studying, man. You gotta have a little faith, guys.
Wait,
Well,
wait.
faith. Hang on, faith is faith. Hang on, you're saying.
What do you guys? Where do you guys when they're handing out the brains, man?
Hang on, you're saying to do a little studying and have a little faith, but you've not told us anything to fucking study. I think all you have is faith, which is nothing.
All right. So, wait, hold on. I would say that the evidence is within Jesus' apostles about the resurrection. I'm pretty sure it's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Consequence. So do you know that the resurrection story contradict each other, right? So John says that he unalived the day of preparation, right? Which would it be true because he wouldn't have the Last Supper, right? But the other apostles say that he unalived the day of Last Supper, right? So which one is true?
Yeah, so they can both be true, right? Your
How
false
can they both be
interpretation.
true?
Your false interpretation. Listen, Braden, your false. Listen,
I wasn't finished
dude,
yet.
you asked
I
the
was not
question.
finished.
Do you want the
Kai,
answer?
I wasn't
Okay, I'm gonna
finished yet.
mute because you're childish.
Kai, I was not done speaking yet.
Continue.
My gosh. As I was saying, which one is true?
Well, you got me there. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still, as I said,
This guy says I'm done speaking and repeats the same question.
Oh my god.
It's hilarious.
Guys,
You interrupting consequence. Hold on.
Hold on. Wait, one at a time. Okay, wait. So like you're talking about the contradiction regarding like what time the Last Supper occurred, basically, right?
No, I'm the contradiction of when the apostles said that Jesus got resurrected, right? So John said that Jesus resurrected the day of preparation, while the other apostle said that Jesus unalived and got resurrected the day of the Passover, right?
Interesting.
So yeah.
Can you more of like name like a verse?
Yeah, bring the verses.
So I think wasn't it Mark 14 where they said he unalived and he had when he had the Last Supper and stuff like that. And then hold on real quick. Let me search up the verses real quick. But I took them all off my computer. Sorry. Okay.
Oh no, this is a valid contradiction. Yeah. Okay.
Y'all make sure you're tapping the screen and sharing the live.
Thank you,
Keep
Jesse.
the space safe. Yeah.
Oh, so this is like a legit contradiction. I think I've even heard of this before, but no, I think what I heard was it was the Last Supper or something. But what happened to that other dude? He left. I guess he really wanted us to just like search up what he was
He
talking
wanted
about.
us to. He didn't even tell us what to search up.
You know.
He was he was here to hoot and holler on Easter on 420.
Are you talking about that guy with who was bringing up that Pharaoh argument?
Yeah. He was just hooting and hollering.
Hold on. How do I go on about this? I think it depends on the context, like how you interpret the context of the verses, you know, because there's some people out there who read the verses as it's laid out, but it's more than what it seems. Like the literature style is what I'm trying to get at. It's more than it seems.
Well, it's literature. It's affirmed. It happened on the third day on Sunday, right? So I don't see any of these as contradictions.
Yeah, I think it's more consistent.
So you're looking at Matthew, Mark, and John. Matthew 28:1, Mark 16:2, and John 21.
Yeah. So hold on. This is what it says, right? So now it's day of preparation for the Passover, and it's about to begin the 6th hour. And he said to the Jews, "Behold your king." Hold on, okay. Since the day of the preparation, hold on real quick. What's it? Okay, hold on, real quick. I'm sorry. Hold on, real quick. John.
Hey, what verse is this so I can follow along?
I think he's finding it like for sure.
Hold on, real quick.
Okay.
So let's go down. The crucifixion of Jesus. Let me see.
Love you, Brayden.
Okay, now, hey, Jesse, hold on real quick. Now it's the day. Well, now, real quick. Jesus, let me just see. Now it's the day
How do
of
you
preparation.
sing my song? I love that.
You like the song? Hey, Jesse. Oh.
Go ahead.
So now it's the day of preparation, and the next day to be the special Sabbath. Because the Jew leaders did not want the bodies left on the crosses during the Sabbath, they asked Pilate to have the legs and bodies broken, or the bodies taken down. The soldiers therefore came and broke the legs of the first man who had been crucified with Jesus, right? But when they came to Jesus, they found that he was already unalived. They did not break his legs, right? So this is saying that this is the day of preparation. He unalive, right? And you can see in the other verses of the like Mark 14, where he literally clearly had the Last Supper, right? So if you see on a day of preparation, if you see it's on the day of preparation, then he wouldn't have the Last Supper if they were already preparing for the Last Supper, right? So that's a clear contradiction, right? How can he be crucified on the day of preparation on the 6th hour if, right? If, he didn't have the Last Supper, right? So it contradicts it, right? So my question would be for you is which one is right?
Yeah, so you're going to have to repeat yourself.
What is your contradiction of John 19 verses like 32 through 40? What's the contradiction you're finding in this?
It was the day of preparation. How could Jesus be crucified on the day of preparation if again or how could he be crucified on the preparation if he had the Last Supper? If he was crucified on the day of preparation for these Last Supper, then he wouldn't have the Last Supper at all, right? That's a clear contradiction.
Yeah, but the Last Supper was before he was crucified.
Yeah. But the day he said, "Oh my gosh, are you following? Are you literally? Are
We
you
are
not following?
trying to
Right?
follow,
Again,
Brayden.
if they were preparing for the Last Supper on that day, and Jesus got crucified, then he, according to John, he wouldn't have ate the Last Supper. How would that be the case if the other Gospels say he ate the Last Supper when John said he has not? Right? If he was crucified on the day of preparation. Again, what is hard with that question, right? Do I need to rephrase it for you?
I'm not gonna lie, you're confusing me a bit.
Contradiction here, Brayden.
So is not a contradiction when
No, there's no contradiction.
Hold on real quick.
There's just this.
Kai, there's no contradiction. Hold on. How is that not a contradiction if John says he unalive on the day of preparation while hold on real quick. Day of preparation, while the other one said he unalive when they said he unalive on the day of the Last Supper. That doesn't make sense. Obviously, if they were preparing for the Last Supper, the day that Jesus resurrected, then he wouldn't have the Last Supper because the Last Supper would be the next day. What? If it was the next day, then he wouldn't have ate it. If he resurrected a day before the Last Supper, again.
John is before the Last Supper, right? Before Passover.
Yes, John is the day of preparation before Passover. The other Gospels are the day of Passover. Again.
Yeah. So the crucifixion happened after the Passover meal.
Yeah, according to Matthew, Mark, and Luke, right? Because Matthew 14 and clearly states that he had the Last Supper, right? While it literally titled on the paragraph the Last Supper, while John says he unalived on the day before preparation. It literally says Jesus was already dead. Already unalived, right? So he wouldn't have the Last Supper meal if he unalived on the day before. The day of preparation. Right? He wouldn't have the Last Supper dinner. While the other one says he had the Last Supper dinner, right? So that's a clear contradiction.
There's something wrong.
Who said you don't eat and you don't get up and eat breakfast?
Well, even the way you're articulating it, it's not that much of a contradiction. I don't think you understand what you're saying.
What? How? What? Controversial? Hold on real quick. So if the other Gospels say that he unalived the day of Passover, but John says he unalived the day before Passover, is that not a contradiction?
Seems like
okay. The Last Supper is all the way back in Mark 14:7.
Dude, I don't think he knows what he's saying.
What is
you're not okay. Here, hold on.
Are y'all like?
Let me do that.
Again.
I will literally read this straight from my Bible.
Did I just not say that Matthew, Mark,
sent two of his disciples telling
say
them,
that Matthew,
"Go
Mark,
into the city, and a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him. Say to the owner of the house as he enters, the teacher asks,
I just told you that.
I may eat the
Did
Passover
I not tell you
with
that
my
Mark
disciples.
14 he had the
He
Passover?
will show you a
Did I
large
not just
room
say-
upstairs, furnished and ready. Make preparations for us there." The disciples left, went into the city, and found things just as Jesus had told them. So they prepared the Passover. When evening came, this is the same day as he said to prepare. When evening came, Jesus arrived with the 12. While they were reclining at the table eating Passover, he said, "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me, one who is eating with me."
Right.
So
And then what does John?
day.
What does John say? John said the day of preparation, he ends up unaliving, right?
Where does John say this?
John
just read it to you.
21.
I literally just read it to you.
John
Again.
21 says
Hold on real quick.
early on
John
the first
19,
day of the week.
John, he was asking me, Kai, he was asking me to read it, so can you be quiet? Again, it says it was the day of preparation, and the next day was to be a special Sabbath. Because the Jewish leaders did not want the bodies left on the crosses During the Sabbath, they asked Pilate to have the legs broken and the bodies taken down. The soldiers came and broke the legs of the first man who had been crucified with Jesus.
You're talking about the
Then the
day of
others,
preparation.
hush,
So
please,
this preparation
hush.
you're
You
talking
keep
about,
talking over me.
you're
Hush,
talking about the
hush,
preparation of the
Stewart.
bodies to
It
be
was
put
the
in
day
the
of
tombs. That it's two different preparations. They're preparing to put the bodies in the tombs. The Last Supper preparation, they're just preparing the Last Supper meal. You're talking about two completely
How
different
am I
events.
talking about two different things? This was not the preparation for the bodies.
Yeah, it is.
How?
Say that.
Tiny. Where the fuck does it say it?
Well, I'm still having a hard time
It's like, where the
tracking
fuck does it
Braden's
say that?
contradictions. Because, I mean, John 21 says, early on the first day of the week while it was still dark is the time of the crucifixion and the resurrection, right? So it would
But
be
actually, really
early on
quick,
the first
Because
day.
it literally says in verse 13, it was the day of preparation. It was the day John 19:14. It was the day of preparation of the Passover, right? It was about noon. It was about noon. He was a
H?
king. Pilate said to the Jews, but they shall take him away, crucify him. Shall I crucify your king? Pilate said, we have no king but Caesar. The chiefs answered. Finally, the Pilate handed him over to be crucified. So they took the soldiers, carried him on the cross. He went on the place of the skull, which in Aramaic, whatever that thing is. There they crucified him, and with him 2 others on each side. Pilate noticed he prepared to fasten the cross. It was like literally, it's saying that he literally was crucified on the day of preparation. It was literally the day of preparation. Him saying, shall I crucify him? Did they end up crucifying him, right? This is the day of preparation of Passover. This is not 2 separate things. This is not 2 separates, right? This is not 2 separate things, right? I literally just read to you where it says, oh, no. This was the day of preparation of Passover, not a different day.
But, oh shit, where did Tiny go? I was about to ask him if he recognized this contradiction. But like,
He's here.
John
oh,
19:14.
okay. Oh, I thought you were in the top box for a sec. But like, do you recognize this contradiction in regards to like,
I've never heard of this before, but it sounds like these days are very confused from one another. If they're supposed to be the same day, but they're 2 different days, it sounds contradictory. It sounds like an inconsistency at the bare minimum. I mean, it sounds like they need to get their shit together when they're writing this book, which they forgot to do.
that was divinely inspired.
Yeah, it seems like an argument of incredulity. I don't know. I think that it actually portrays the
Well, like saying that
authenticity.
Jesus resurrected would be an argument from incredulity, or saying that this account here is like accurate enough to say that a person actually resurrected from the dead. That'd be incredulity, but you know.
Well, you just don't have the understanding, right? So you put your own interpretation on. But
like how you interpret it,
I would argue that it actually
and
shows
say
the
that this shows that God is
authenticity
real
of the
and
event.
is subjective, inference-based reasoning, like I'm doing the same way, but you just have a different conclusion.
No, I would argue that the differences in stories, right? To you, they might look as apparent contradictions, which all have been reconciled. That it actually proves
Since he's
it shows
at the bare
it
minimum.
shows the authenticity of
No,
of
which
what's
one is
being
right,
told.
Kai? Which one is right?
Titties
He
are
unalived-
showing.
Which do you unalive the day before the day of preparation of the Passover, or the day of the Passover? Which one, Kai?
Yeah, so the crucifixion after the Passover meal during the lamb sacrifice, I don't even see how that's a contradiction.
But John said different words. John had to be right. John said it was the day of the preparation of Passover.
Yeah, so John,
And both Mark and
that
Luke
was
said
the
something
day,
different.
Now was the day of the Passover. It was about the 6th hour. He said to the Jews, "Behold your king." 19:14.
This is the day
Okay.
of preparation of Passover. Where's you reading this from? I'm reading it straight out of here. John 19. I can even pull it up.
Yeah, so this is before the meal on the official, according to the official Jewish calendar, right?
Well, there's 2 different calendars, though. There's the Sadducean calendar and the Pharisaic calendar.
Exactly, right? So the differences in calendars could definitely have an impact on the date. And then I would say it would,
So it's like
So you're saying the
special
Pharisees
reasoning.
wrote one of the Gospels, or the Pharisees wrote either the Pharisees wrote Matthew and Luke, Mark and Luke, or the people who wrote Mark and Luke were following the Pharisees' calendar?
I'm throwing out there's different calendars, right, that they could be going off of their interpretation of when the event's supposed to occur. Yeah, very simply. And then the crucifixion, I would just hold on the Sunday. And after the Passover meal, and Jesus was the lamb during the sacrifice. And I wouldn't see any contradiction in
So
in
it's
what
two
you guys
different
are
calendars.
giving
Who
here.
said that? What's the evidence? What's the proof that he was reading off a different calendar, though? I'm still trying to figure that out.
Well, it doesn't follow that I was trying to make is it doesn't really make sense that an author of two of the Gospels would have been following a Pharisaic calendar. Because like Jesus' whole thing was pretty much anti-Pharisee, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why would his followers be giving credential to the
So
Pharisaic calendar
Matthew,
over?
Mark, and Luke seem to use the Galilean calendar, and John uses the Saducean calendar, showing the Jesus Passover. So that would be the two different calendars I'm referring to. Is the Galilean calendar?
What
And
The
is
Galilean was the
Saducean?
Pharisaic. That's also referred to as the
the
Pharisaic.
Saducean calendar as well. So that would wrap this contradiction up.
The Saducean one was the one that John used.
Yeah, I'm saying that.
And
John
the Synoptic
Saducean.
Gospels, we're using the Pharisaic command.
Yeah, and then Matthew.
And that's
Mark,
what doesn't
and
make
Luke.
sense is that that those Gospels would have used the one, but granted, Jesus, it's not like Jesus ever said which calendar to follow. He was just highly critical of the Pharisees in general. So that's why I'm saying it doesn't really make much sense that his followers would have been following the
I grant that.
standards of the Pharisees.
But Kai, what is the evidence of him actually using this, though? I'm still trying to figure out what's the evidence of him using this calendar.
Yeah, the same evidence. The same evidence as the resurrection.
What is
The Bible's
what is the
infallible.
evidence? No, that's not evidence. That's not evidence. You just making a.
So wait. Do you want me to take
What
a
is the
snap, like
evidence
a
of him using?
Snapchat?
What is the
Do you want me to take a
evidence of him?
Snapchat video
What
of
is the evidence of
Matthew,
him
Mark, and
using,
Luke on the
again, what is
calendar
the
they're using?
evidence? What is the evidence of him using this calendar?
Yeah, so I have to actually look into that. I have to pull that up. I don't have that off the top of my head, but either way, would you concede
what's
if
the
this?
evidence? You said that
Wait,
you made a
dude,
claim. You made a
Brayden.
claim.
I'm going
What
to
is
show
the
you,
evidence
dude.
of
Mute
it?
up, dude.
You
You're
made
like a child.
claim. What
You're
is the
literally
evidence
talking, dude.
behind it?
You have to let people talk, right? Would you say if the case is that I can prove you sufficient evidence saying Matthew, Mark, and Luke are using the Galilean calendar and John is using the Saducean calendar, would you concede that this is no longer a contradiction?
I mean, give me it, right?
Would you concede that this is no longer a contradiction?
Did you like to see what I said? Again, give me it.
I didn't ask that, sir.
Give me it.
This is crazy.
Yeah, disingenuous. This is why it's a
Do
waste
that,
of
Kai.
my time.
We can't do that, Kai, until you provide the source. We can't do
Yeah,
that
it sounds like because otherwise this is just like I to Jesus of the text.
If this is the case, would this reconcile the contradiction? Yes or
The
no?
evidence. I want to
Evidence
find
to
that
see if this is the case, please and thank you.
That's not the question I'm asking.
Question until evidence is provided.
No, I'm pulling it up now. I just want to have an honest interaction. Because
If
when I
this shows
do
a
show you
if
sufficient
this shows a
evidence,
contradiction,
when I
will
do
you show that
listen,
it's a
dude,
contradiction?
when I show you
Will you
sufficient evidence
concede
of Matthew, Mark,
if
and
we
John,
find out that this is a contradiction? Will you concede that it's a contradiction?
What okay, so
yeah, you guys are just
he was never
disingenuous.
meant to be a part of that.
I asked the same
Passover
question.
The day after his crucifixion. You're thinking about just the Passover festival, which is just commonplace nowadays in that time. But Jesus knew he was never meant to be a part of that. That's why it's the symbolic connection being him as the lamb. When he came to the Last Supper, they had the bitter herbs, they had their spices, and they had, what's the other I'm missing? can't remember what the other I'm missing, but they didn't have the lamb at the Last Supper because Jesus was the lamb who was going to be slain for the sins of the world. There's no contradiction here with no calendar. The calendar days don't matter. Jesus was never meant to be at the festival Passover because he was going to be crucified, and he knew this. I don't get where calendars have any type of meaning in this, because he was presented 6 hours before Pilate, before the Passover Sabbath.
Stuart, it matters because John shows an apparent contradiction of the timing of the crucifixion, right? But John is using a Sadducean calendar, so it doesn't matter. And
the gospel did not explicitly use the Pharisaic calendar for its portrayal of the events surrounding Jesus' crucifixion for the Passover, while the Synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, align more closely with the Pharisaic calendar, placing the Passover meal and crucifixion on consecutive days. John places
Are
the
you
Last
reading
Supper and
ChatGPT?
crucifixion- Huh?
Are you reading ChatGPT?
No, I'm reading Google.
That's a ChatGPT AI.
That's
you're
not Chat.
reading.
What is Google Chat GPT, guys?
You're using the Google AI.
It's Google Chat GPT, guys.
I mean, there is an AI section of the Google search.
It is an AI section. But it's not
I knew it
ChatGPT.
was. I was just asking.
Again, how is that
fine.
ChatGPT? It's not ChatGPT.
My bad, Braden. You're good.
Wait, where does ChatGPT get their information from? Actual websites, right?
AI.
Yeah, Jesse.
That's
Oh,
literally
okay.
AI. Google literally has a list of websites that backs up these claims right next to it. So I don't understand what you're talking about.
Like, because a lot of these things you can click on and it takes you to the exact website you got it from. That's why I'm asking.
I should probably be looking into this. I'll grab an iPad in a second and look into this.
Kai, what device are you on, Kai? You don't want to answer, okay?
Damn.
Yeah, you don't have to give bitch answers. You can just talk, like, literally give a real answer, Kai.
Damn.
As far as the chat GPT.
Kai, I DM'd you something that should provide a backup to our claim.
Fine. This is a scholarly, a lot of scholars. I wouldn't say consensus because I don't have a survey to pull up, but this isn't an odd position to holding that Matthew, Mark, and Luke were holding to a different calendar than John was. This is elementary.
Hold on. Okay, let's start from the beginning. I have a iPad now. So, Brady. Oh, damn it. It's out of power. God damn it. Okay, Brady, what are you claiming? You're claiming that there's a contradiction in between the
Brady.
It's Braden.
Oh, oops, my bad. Braden, my bad. You're claiming that there's a contradiction in regards to when Jesus was crucified, right? Okay, so what are those two passages that you're looking at?
So I was using two passages, John 19, and Matthew 14.
Okay, everyone bear with me while I pull those passages up.
It's pretty simple, Coco. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are on a different calendar than John.
But how do you know that?
How do I know that? I with absolute certainty, no one knows anything, but I have a justified belief that I can hold to this because of the sufficient evidence and the scholarly consensus that backs this up.
What scholarly consensus is backing this up?
There's some scholars who hold to this interpretation.
Some scholars.
I already said that. I don't have a survey for you.
Oh my God, are most scholars agreeing with this?
Yeah, you're gonna have to provide us with a source or something.
Colin Humphreys is a great proponent of this. So Colin Humphreys, Phreys.
Okay, I think I know how to spell Humphrey.
Well, I don't know. It might be Humphrey.
Damn.
What?
It's Humphreys, but I'm just being a nice guy spelling it out for you.
All right. Wait.
The most common scholarly consensus that I could find seems to be that that John used the Roman method of timekeeping. and the synoptics use the Jewish method.
Does
And
anyone
that
want
that would kind of indicate that it was, it was written through the lens of somebody
for
not
sure.
living in
Okay.
first century Judea.
Yeah, but I don't need a scholarly consensus. I have the Eastern Orthodox Church, right, which is infallible.
No, we're not sure about that.
Every
So
single church is
until you
fallible,
have a
Kai, you know
metaphysical
that. Please stop
foundation for
lying.
your worldview, I mean, good
Yeah,
luck.
Kai, your trying your
Good
church, your
luck.
book, your doctrine, everything about your religion is very fallible.
Wait, actually, yeah, wait. Someone said in the comments, but yeah, be so for real. Like, we're not sure if the Eastern Orthodox is like not fallible.
Yo, I got a question for Kai. Kai,
Yeah,
do you have an example of any historical source anywhere in antiquity that shows that people in Jerusalem celebrated the Passover meal on different days of the week?
not off the top of my head. I'll have to look into that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, until you can find that, you can't say that when John says that Jesus was crucified before the Passover meal, and the synoptics say he was crucified after the Passover meal, that this is not two different days. It's a contradiction. If that's the case, you have to provide some kind of source to back up what you're saying, that the people in Jerusalem celebrated the Passover meal on different days.
Exactly. That's what we've been saying.
I mean, I would disagree with that, but I mean, if you want a Snapchat video of them celebrating it late, I can look into
What?
that.
Wait, what?
That
No,
was dumb.
listen, you have to
What?
understand. Everyone in the first century was traveling to Jerusalem to celebrate Passover. What can you imagine the logistics issue if they were celebrating the different festivals on different days? Why would they have two different celebrations of the Passover meal? 2 different days where they slaughter lambs, 2 different days where they celebrate the Sabbath. It doesn't make any sense. They're going to try to coincide with each other to celebrate the festivals on the same day.
I mean, that's a crazy assumption.
What?
I think it's crazy
I
assumption.
don't think it's crazy. Wait, what?
Imagine if I went to Chicago for Christmas and everyone was doing Christmas Eve and Christmas on 2 different days. It doesn't make any sense. They're going to coincide. People need to take time off work. All this other stuff. They're going to want to have the events line up. Now, there's of course different calendars, but the festivals are still going to be celebrated on the same day of the week, especially in Jerusalem, where everybody was for Passover.
I don't know. I just did a quick little Google ChatGPT like Braden, and it says it's historically plausible and, in fact, likely that different Jewish groups celebrated Passover on different days in Jerusalem due to the calendar systems. This provides a reasonable harmonization of the Gospels.
Show me a source in antiquity that backs this up.
Where the reflect.
Show me a
this is
source
just a
in
quick little Google saying, yes, it is historically plausible.
There we go.
Okay, great. Show me a source in antiquity that backs up Jews in Jerusalem celebrating Passover meal on different days.
I don't think I would need to show you a direct source in antiquities.
Of course you would. Of course.
Why would I need to do that?
You're making a
because you
claim
can't just say, "Look, ChatGPT says it's plausible." You have to give me. You have
This
to give
is
me
the
the
information
arguments.
I have, sir.
You have to give me the arguments and reasons to motivate me to think that.
You
That's
can
exactly
give us a trust me, bro.
You just
No,
concede
it's
until you don't have
historically
one.
plausible, and the reasons for that is there's different Jewish groups that celebrated Passover on different days in Jerusalem. Okay,
Okay,
due
you're
to
just
competing
reasserting
calendar systems. Competing
just
calendar
reasserting the
systems,
claim.
right? So we
You're
have
just
different groups
reasserting
of
the
Jews
claim.
with different calendars.
You're
How
just
do we know
reasserting the
that?
claim. I'm asking for some kind of source to back this up.
Yeah, you're telling us that Jews celebrated it on different days, but like, what are you reading to get to that conclusion?
And I'm not saying like you're finding it on ChatGPT or this scholar says this. I'm asking, when I'm asking for a source, I'm asking for something in antiquity that would even indicate or motivate us to think that Jews are celebrating Passover meal on different days.
Yeah, so like I said, sir, when you asked me this question of direct evidence from antiquities, I said I'm going to have to search that up, do some research into it. I'm not going to be able to just pull it up, and even if I do just pull it up from
But you
antiquities,
just made
I
the
haven't read
claim.
it. So
You should know that it was at the top of your head if you made this claim, right? I mean,
No, Braden. The claim here is that the Bible's infallible, right?
No,
Do
but
you
you
hold?
just you
Do you
literally
hold to
just
anything
said
being
no. You
infallible?
literally just said no. You literally just said that they celebrated it on different days. These different Jewish people follow. I mean, these different Jewish sects follow different calendars and celebrate it on different days. I want you to tell us where are you getting that from?
Well, it looks like
Yeah.
it's supported by multiple scholarly works.
But give us
Give
the
us
evidence,
one.
please.
Give us like
Yeah,
one,
so I
two.
kind of did already when I
Okay,
brought up.
Kai.
Just trust them, bro.
Yeah, so
Kai, to
Colin
this. Let me try this.
Humphreys,
Like,
the
imagine
mystery of the Last
wait,
Supper. Okay, Colin Humphreys again, Big G.
wait,
No, that's not
Kai.
talking
No,
about.
you're not
That's not
understanding.
talking. They didn't say. Hold on.
Wait,
They didn't
stop. Wait, I
say.
want to make this clear. Kai, imagine if we told you Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John didn't write the Gospels, and you said, well, what's your reason for thinking that? And I just said, most scholars agree. That's not me giving you an argument, right? I have to
Yeah.
give you reasons that would motivate you.
Yeah, so sir,
Believe it.
my argument isn't. I wouldn't even grant your interpretation on Scripture, right? You have no metaphysical foundation for what is and what is not,
Bruh.
right? So you don't even have
Oh,
the
now you're,
grounds
now
for
you're hiding
reason.
behind.
But I
Now you're
entertain
hiding
this.
behind tag. Now you're
I
hiding behind
entertain
tag.
this. Oh, I'm not hiding behind tag. I'm
Yes, you
entertaining
are.
it because I need to learn more. But Colin Humphreys in his research paper, The Mystery
No.
of the Last Supper, right?
You
Would
didn't read that paper.
we were just
I was
talking
looking at
about
it.
it
No,
20 minutes
first of
ago.
all,
I read a brief summary, and you're right, sir. That's
Kai,
why I told you when
but
you asked.
Kai,
Wait,
he
sir.
didn't say
When you
they
asked the
celebrated it on
question,
different days. He
when
did
you
not say that they celebrated it on different days.
listen,
You're
sir,
lying again.
you asked the question. I said, "Hey,
He
I
did
don't
not say
know.
they is
I'm gonna
celebrated
have
it
to
on
look into
different
that." Did I not
days.
say that?
Again.
Hey, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, you did say that.
Right.
Yep.
Of
So you have to.
course. So,
False
I mean,
claims.
this is what I can
Why
give
are you
you.
making
Obviously,
false
it is
claims?
half-assed, sir. I grant that.
I mean,
You
the
know,
traditional
I'm
the
gonna have to look
traditional
into
date
it. It's that simple.
for the traditional date for Jewish Passover was the 14th of Nisan, and
Yep.
it was it was early Christianity that started having the debates on what actual date it should fall on, because they wanted it to be the Sunday following. That was
Yeah.
what by the time the Council of Nicaea came around and had this argument about when should the Christian Passover be. Like they're the first ones that really talk about a discrepancy, a debate between which day it should be. The Jews, even though they had a Sadducean calendar and a Pharisee calendar, they still observe Passover at the 14th of Nisan.
Yep. So exactly. So the 14th of Nisan,
which would have been the day before the account for the crucifixion.
Right.
That would have been the traditional Jewish, calendar would have been that.
The crucifixion happened on 15 Nisan, and then the next day would have been the Sabbath, and then the resurrection was supposed to be the day after that. So that's kind of the timeline that's given.
Right, and that's the discrepancy, because John is saying that the crucifixion happened on
14.
the Sabbath.
Right.
No, John's saying,
and then it said,
John's saying it happened on the 14 Nisan. He's saying it happened before the Passover meal.
Yeah, he says it happened for the Passover meal. Then it said the next day. Wait, I think it said the next day, right?
The
They
next day was
picking
the
his body up.
preparation. The next day was preparation day, which is talking about preparation for the Sabbath, which is 15 Nisan. This is John's timeline. So John has him crucified on 14. Next day is 15 Nisan. The following day is the Sabbath, and then he resurrects on Sunday.
John's gospel suggests that the meal took place before the official Passover, implying Jesus was crucified on the day of preparation.
No. The day of prep. So there's two preparations. If you're talking about the preparation for the Passover meal, that's 14 Nisan. Yeah, I agree with you there. But the preparation of the Sabbath is the 15th Nisan. That's when the crucifixion happens in the Synoptics. The crucifixion in John happens on 14 Nisan, the day on the Passover meal, before the Passover meal occurs. Because in John's gospel, the Last Supper, as you pointed out, occurs before the Passover.
So, sir, it's going to be Book 13, Chapter 8, Section 1 of Antiquities of the Jews.
What does it say?
It's just supporting that they're arguing over calendars and when to celebrate
read it for
things. Okay, for their I don't know how to say this. Essenes also differ from the other Jews in the modes of reckoning time, as they use different calendars in which these years consist of 365 days. It also said the Essenes celebrated their Passover earlier than.
Please
Wait.
get it right.
It also said the
Please get it
Essenes
right.
celebrated their Passover earlier than the rest of the Jews, as the reckoning of the months and years is not in accordance with that of the temple calendar.
You said it's Antiquities 13:8:1?
But yeah, book 13, chapter 8, section 1.
Okay, I'll be right back.
And then we have book 2, chapter 8, section 6, and book 18, chapter 1, section 3. All placing their chips on the Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. People, it's Easter. Come on. Feel the Spirit.
Yeah,
Get with God.
Mary 420, y'all.
I'll grant that for the atheist. If you're an atheist individual, I'll be pointing out contradictions every other day in the Bible, right? To, have that, belief bias, I guess.
It doesn't, I mean, Christians are capable of seeing contradictions too. Did you know that?
That's because when you look in context, there's a consistency within the Bible.
I guess. I'm not sure about that.
It says God doesn't change. Then it says that He regretted making humans and decided to change that, right? I mean, it just seems that He reverses His things by change. I mean, obviously, it seems like He changes if He regrets it and then wipes out the whole earth. I mean, that's Him changing. First,
You
you were
said
born
you
with
said book
humans.
13, chapter 8, verse 1, right? Paragraph 1.
Yeah, section 1. Yes.
It doesn't say anything about that at all.
Okay, I have it in quotations here. Maybe I
On
have the wrong.
ChatGPT, do you have it, or?
Yeah, no, on ChatGPT I have it.
Well, ChatGPT makes up quotations. Like, look up the quotation Antiquities and see if you can find it, because it's not where you said it was.
Is this where it's referring to how Jonathan took the government after his brother Judas?
I think that's what it sounded like.
Dude, ChatGPT making up quotations should be illegal, man. Like, I'm gonna sue these guys for making me look bad on TikTok. That's ridiculous.
I think you were looking bad already, but
Yeah,
Chill.
you don't.
I think he was looking bad already, guys.
I'm not gonna lie, you guys make up some good points.
Wait, hold on.
Y'all tap. Like the live, share the live.
I'm tapping like crazy over here.
Yeah, tap. There's no tariffs on tapping.
Not yet.
Sir's looking up stuff, or I would be like asking him what he thought.
So I'm reading it. It says something about
when Jacob had lived the 17 years in Egypt, he fell into a distance. Yeah.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with what you're talking about. I mean, so I've noticed ChatGPT does this when you ask for quotations. They'll give you sometimes, depending on what you're asking for. When ChatGPT realizes it's wrong, it goes into like this weird
That's a bullshit mode, bro. That's crazy.
I've noticed that you have to. I'm telling you, you have to be careful. You have to copy and paste the sources and make sure that they're giving you accurate quotations.
Yeah,
They
so
do that.
I'll look into it, sir. Like I said, I don't have an answer for you off the top of my head.
Or read it. He looked it up just now.
Well,
it's wrong. It's wrong. That's the thing. I said chapter 8, section 1, book 13. It's just wrong.
Okay, well, I appreciate you admitting that, so I don't have to jump back and forth and read it. What do you want to say, Floaty?
Think of the match.
I thought the main event was
was a little bit hokey.
The main event was a little underwhelming, but the rest of the show was really, really good.
How did John Cena do? Yeah, how did John Cena do?
He just won the title.
He did.
Yeah, he kicked him. He got like 4 drops on him, and then he like got a 2 count kick out each time. And then what's the guy's name that sings Fiend that came in?
Travis Scott.
Travis Scott. Travis Scott came in. Yep, and then he like pulled the ref's legs out from under him when Cody was about to pin John Cena, so the like ref fell out of the ring.
What?
And then and then
just the
John
fake,
Cena,
the fake stuff. The fake.
they like battled over the belt, and then like Cody Rhodes pulled the belt away from John Cena, and like Cena was like, please stop, like let's talk about this or
I
whatever.
don't need no more. I don't
Well,
support
wait,
Cody.
John Cena's a bad guy again, isn't he? Or a bad guy
Well,
now?
yeah, because he asked Cody Rhodes to like hold off, and Cody was like obviously like questioning whether he should or not, you know. And then he like looked away for a half second, and John Cena kicked him in the nuts.
It's hilarious.
Right. I didn't mean to say I didn't support Cody Rhodes, but I don't support Roman. That hurt me so bad. Oh my gosh, that hurt me so bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I thought the show was really good, but the main event was a little underwhelming. Did you watch the whole show or just the main event, Floopty?
I just watched today, but I watched the whole event.
Oh, okay.
Ripley was today as well too at the beginning.
Yeah,
Where was it aired?
it was in Las Vegas.
On Peacock.
Oh, Peacock, yeah. Sorry, I
I
didn't know
meant
what you were asking.
I probably just didn't know how to ask it. I just meant like where were people watching it?
Yeah, it was on Peacock. You can go watch the replay now. It's like saved in their files now.
Okay, I figured it'd be pretty quick.
I feel like the tag team match was a little bit sad too. I don't think I like that one very much.
Which one?
It's tag team that they had, like 2 Girls in the Red versus White Black.
I don't like Becky Lynch. I'm a really big hater on Becky Lynch. I think she's way overrated. And I'm kind of upset because you know who Bayley is? Bayley was supposed to be in that match, and like behind the scenes, Becky Lynch politicked to have her attacked, quote unquote, to get her removed from the match. And then that Lyra girl had to pick a partner, and it was supposed to be a surprise and ended up being Becky. And now they're tag champions. Like, I just think it's all kind of
That's
bullshit.
weird.
Like,
Yeah, sorry.
because Becky can politic like that because everybody, like, you know, she's been there for a while and she's married to Seth Rollins and all this other stuff. I just think it's dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
But what happened?
We're just talking about Becky.
John
Go ahead.
Cena took the title.
Yeah.
So what's happening? I don't know what's going on right now.
I think that all the theists are up here a little bit closer to being atheists is all. I think we've almost done our job, y'all. We've spreaded the good news. I think
Pack it
everybody's
up.
getting ready. Yeah, everybody's getting ready to repent, and we're just gonna go ahead and
Oh no, it's like it's not making sense to me.
have
Like,
an atheist cookout.
Hey, Kai, how do you reconcile the Jerusalem appearances versus the Galilean appearances?
is this like about the calendar thing?
No, this would be a separate, like, sort of.
You know, I, as an EO, we rely on mystery. So when it comes to, that's what we rely on, bro. That's what is.
The divine mystery of the Orthodox.
What is infinite, and that is unknown. So we rely on the mystery.
I actually think this is the
crazy word.
This is the worst issue for the resurrection. Is that the later appearances that occur in Jerusalem don't seem to be historical. They seem to be. It doesn't even seem to be people who are claiming these appearances happened until later, because the earliest accounts say that the appearances are going to begin in Galilee. That's what Mark and Matthew both say, and they have to leave Jerusalem. They have to leave Jerusalem to return to Galilee. So if the appearances began in Jerusalem, that would have to be before they got back to Galilee. So it seems to me that Luke is just adding these Jerusalem appearances later.
So can you provide the verse for me?
Yeah, so the appearances in Luke is going to be chapter 24 and 23 are where you see the appearances. I don't know the exact verses. You just have to kind of skim through them. In Matthew, the post-resurrection stuff is all going to be contained in chapter 28. and in Mark the specific verse is Mark 16:7, because Mark originally ended at verse 8. So in Mark 16:7, it says the angel tells the person that's at the tomb, if it's, let's assume it's an angel, tells the woman at the tomb to go tell Peter that Jesus is going to meet him in Galilee, right? That's what it says in chapter 16, verse 7.
Isn't this contradiction about how many angels there were on the tomb?
Well,
and
I
how
do
many
hold the
people?
Jerusalem and then Galilee, and that's the line I'm sticking to, right? That Jerusalem happened first, and then Galilee.
Why does Mark and Matthew both say that Jesus is going to meet Peter in Galilee?
Because that's honest.
No, it's not. If they can't meet him in Galilee if they're going to first appear to him in Jerusalem. He can't meet him in Galilee if he's going to first appear to him in Jerusalem.
I mean, he can.
How? That's not meeting him.
He can, because again, if we're gonna go semantical, he can meet him here and meet him there. I mean, there's nothing stopping. But for it to be the first meeting, I understand that to be an issue. But he can meet you here, meet you there, meet you over there, right? Like that wouldn't be an issue. But if it's the first meeting,
if I tell someone I'm going to meet you in location X, that means that's the next place I'm going to see you.
Good point.
Contradictions as well. We can see in Matthew.
Well, look, this one's really important though, because this is the reason why this is really important. It's because all the appearances in Jerusalem are the ones that are clearly not supposed to be presented as visions. So the appearances in Jerusalem are like Jesus eating supper with them for 40 days, like the doubting Thomas stuff. All those appearances are added later to the story. But the original appearances, and Mark doesn't mention any of them, right? Paul just alludes to these people having visions. He doesn't say where they occur. But he does interestingly list Peter as the first person, right? And he doesn't list any appearances to any woman at any tomb. So that's absent from the Corinthians Creed and Paul's recollection of the appearances, right? So the earliest accounts don't seem to be referencing these extraordinary Jerusalem appearances where they're having dinner with the disciples, or where he is having dinner with the disciples, where he's asking people to touch his scars, where he's pointing out that he's a flesh and blood resurrected human. Those appearances appear to be later additions to the story. And I think that's a big issue.
I don't know. I can't really provide much as for myself, because from my perspective, I do not see any contradictions. There's a deep consistency, and you have to look at the very secluded context of the scripts, and you can't really.
No, that's a lie. That's a lie. Hold on, let's read this then. Hold on, let's read this, because this is very important to the resurrection.
Wait, can I finish first?
You're not really saying anything, because that's really what the scriptures are telling you. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me mute up then, since the host kindly asked me to.
Go ahead and finish.
It's not much, but it depends on how you look at the context. If you're reading it as it's laid out, then you're not going to get anywhere, and you're going to look from your perspective and think there's contradictions within the Bible. That's where I was trying to put that.
Oh, yeah. So when Mark 16 says, "Trembling and bewildered, the women went out and fled for the tomb. They said nothing to anyone because they were afraid." Matthew 28. So the women hurried away from the tomb, and yet afraid with joy, and ran to tell the disciples. Right? Luke 24:9-10. When they came back from the tomb, they told all these things to the 11, and all the others. It was Mary Magdalene, Jonah, Mary of James, John 20:18. Mary went to disciples and news, "I've seen the Lord." She told them the things that he said to her. Right. So this is obviously contradicting, because Mark says that they said nothing to anyone. Well, the rest of the Gospels say that they have told the Gospels, and then there's more as well, right? So then we can see in as well. We can go to. I'm sorry. Hold on, real quick. We can go to. Why is there's a lot? So Matthew 28, 5-6, it says the angels. Ooh, that's the wrong one. I was even looking for that one. I'm sorry, but how do you feel about Mark saying that the woman said nothing to all of them, but then it says that again that they went and told the disciples. That's
And plus, we also have early manuscripts of Mark where that's the end of that isn't included. It ends right there with
they
the
wipe
women
out.
Yeah,
That's
running.
the two earliest,
That's blank
earliest
pages.
copies, the two earliest copies of the Indigo Mark don't include it. That's the Codex Sinaiticus, and the
They don't
Codex
include the
Vaticanus.
resurrection at all.
And it's even worse than that. And there's this other codex, the Codex Bovanesis, that includes a different ending of Mark. So we actually have competing endings of Mark that we're adding on to verse 8.
That's
There's
pretty
like four-
damning.
Yeah, like one all the pages are blank. Like they don't say nothing at all, right? They don't say nothing about the resurrection, right? And it's really crazy.
Well, that's
And I
not
also
true.
read-
They do
Huh?
allude to the resurrection. They just don't have the post-resurrection appearances.
I just want to say what may seem, contradictory, right, or paradoxical, isn't always the case.
So Kai, did they
apparent
see-
contradictions, especially if this is the word of God, would be completely false.
So Kai, which one is it? Did they hold on? Which one is it, Kai? Did the did they tell the disciples or did they not tell the disciples? Which one is it?
Bloody hell.
So, before
Coco, did you want to say something?
Oh, no, you're good. No.
before I hop off because my phone's about to die. Like you're like basically proving my statement prior is like you're reading it as it's
No,
laid
I'm
out.
asking which one is. Asked both of y'all which one is it. Did they tell the disciples about it or did they not? Which one is it? Again, I'm reading what the text says.
It's both
I'm reading
of them.
what the
Yeah,
text says, and I'm asking you
both
again.
of them are true.
I'm asking you again.
You're looking at how the
I'm reading
text
the
is laid
text.
out.
I'm reading the text. I'm reading it, and I'm asking
into
you
the
again.
context. Look
I'm
at the
asking
context.
you
Brayden,
again. Which
do you
one
want
is
the
which?
answer, bro? Mute, bro. They're both true.
How are they both true? So hold on real quick. So they did not tell the disciples, and then they ran to tell the disciples. So it said they kept quiet about the resurrection, and then the other one said that they instantly ran to the disciples. Which one is correct? How are they both correct?
Yeah,
Both
so
can't be
I'll tell
both
you,
can't be true, baby. One
they're
is
both
lying.
Brayden,
One is lying,
no,
Kai.
you're lying.
One is
You're
lying.
lying, and I'll tell you why.
One is
Because,
lying.
dude, they're both correct. Because if I'm running to
How are they both
listen,
correct?
listen.
They
If
didn't
I'm
tell them
running,
at all. They didn't tell the
dude.
disciples that. Hold on. They didn't tell the
Okay,
disciples at all.
you just like talking over
Alright.
people, bro.
So Brayden, this is my thing for you. If you're gonna lay out a verse, I want you to to provide the context that comes along with the verse, so that I can know that you understand.
I'm reading it
what the
right
verse
to
is.
you.
No, you got to look at the context of it. You're not looking
What
at
is
the
the context?
of
Hold on real quick.
Look at the context.
Hold on real quick.
Can
Let me
I read
again.
the two verses to him really quick, and then I'll do a short explanation. So what
Okay,
you're
let me read the
saying
verses
is,
to him
and
real
I'm gonna
quick.
read it. So in Mark 16, in verse 8, it says, "Trembling and bewildered, the women went out and fled from the tomb. They said nothing to anyone because they were afraid." But then you're all right. It does say that in John 20, verse 18, Mary Magdalene went to the disciples with the news, "I have seen the Lord," and she told them that he had said these things to her. When you look at the context of the time period, women were not taken seriously. They were not listened to. It was not very commonplace. So yes, she was trembling and afraid, and she said nothing to anyone, but she went to the disciples, and she told the disciples. So she wasn't running by on the street and telling everyone on the street immediately, "Oh, I just saw Jesus," because they were strangers. No, she did go to the disciples, though.
Confusing anyone with like everyone.
No.
To me, yeah, because like, what is the context of anyone there? That's like pointing to some person, right?
Why aren't they included in the Corinthians Creed, the appearance to the women?
Right, because they said, the context of the one. Are you talking about like Mary Magdalene, the other Mary, then Mary Magdalene, the other Mary, and so on? Did Mary go on and then?
If this appearance occurred to these women at the tomb by Jesus, which it says in Matthew that Jesus appeared to them at the empty tomb. Why isn't this included in the Corinthians Creed?
I've never read the Corinthians Creed, so.
Well, it's the earliest creedal form of the resurrection appearances. That's going to be 1 Corinthians 15 verses 3 through 8.
Hold on, let me go there.
Why
I'm in a
doesn't
paper
Paul
Bible.
mention
It's
this?
going to take me a second.
But I'm still confused, right? I'm still confused when it says they say nothing to anyone because they were afraid. Then it says they ran and told the disciples. Then they say they ran and told the disciples and the others, right? They didn't say that they told the others. They said that they told the disciples and the others. They said they only told the disciples. Then they said again that they didn't tell nobody at all. So it's confused. Did they tell the disciples? Did they tell both the disciples and the others? Or did they tell, right, no one?
Well, it's like they
how that's like a
did go
contradiction.
and tell the disciples, but in context of biblical time period, she wasn't going out to just some random guy out on the street. That
She said and the others, right? So I'm confused.
You said the disciples, then the others, right?
It says to the 11 and to all the others. Then it says again, he ran to tell his disciples. It didn't say the disciples and the others. It said just the disciples, but it didn't say the others. Again, so which one was it, the disciples or the others or the disciples, right? Or or they did not tell anybody at all, right? Because it says, so the woman hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to the disciples. But then it says again, afraid, and they did not tell anybody, right? So if they were, but it said they did not tell anyone because they're afraid. But then it says in Matthew 28, they were afraid yet filled with joy and ran to the disciples. So there's two different things, right? They were afraid and didn't tell anybody at all, or they were afraid and told the disciples, or they weren't afraid and told the disciples and the others. There's three different stories, guys. And then if you read, hold on real quick. I don't think I mentioned John as well, right? John, God said Mary Magdalene went to the disciples, and she told them the news. Then also you can see the contradiction when it says it was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, and Mary the mother of Magdalene. There was three other people going to the disciples. There's like 20 people. There's one only Mary told them about the news. Then it says Mary Magdalene, Joanna, and Mary the mother of James telling them. There's like there's like four different accounts on who actually went to the tomb, because then if you look again, it says in Matthew 28, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to visit the tomb, right? Then it says Mary Magdalene, Mark 16, Mary Magdalene, Mary and the mother of James and Salome went to the tomb. Then it says in Luke 14, right? Several women see the tomb. Then it says in John 13, only Mary Magdalene went to the tomb. So there's like four different things of who went to the tombs to see the what's it called? It's so many contradictions in this thing. It's like only one woman went, then two women went, then three women went, then all the women went, right? So it's just confusing, right? There's so many contradictions in this one resurrection story. Nobody can get it straight. It's so weird, and I'm trying to figure out which one is right. They were afraid and filled with joy and told them, or they were afraid, so they said nothing at all.
Okay, now let them answer.
Damn.
Well, they're not unmuting. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I was just saying, like, damn, like the resurrection story.
That was a filibuster.
Oh no.
Like, granted, I accept the point,
But I'm not gonna lie. This is gonna look like a coward move, because it may seem like I'm turning tail and running, but my phone is at 5% and I gotta go.
Oh no, you're good.
You can't charge your phone while talking.
Wait. I thank you guys for letting me have the opportunity to speak up and try my best to defend my beliefs, but I gotta get going now. Thank you, controversial compact.
Better luck next time.
Consequence, you can't charge your phone while speaking.
Wait,
No,
really quick. Come back anytime. You're always welcome here, and it's okay not to know all the answers. We're all learning and growing, so like, don't feel ashamed to not like.
I'm not. There's always room for improvement.
Why don't we, can we try to, Braden, can you try to like hone in on one point you want them to answer?
So as I said, thank you.
Like, what contradictions do you want
Hey,
them?
Compass, when's the next time you'll be live? If you don't mind.
I actually follow me, and I'll follow you, and I'll send you my like live schedule.
Alrighty. Well, thank you all for letting me speak up and whatnot. I gotta go. My phone's about to die.
He can't charge this.
No, I can't.
Maybe he doesn't.
All right, Braden, don't worry about that. The kid said he has to go. Let him go.
Yeah, that's fine.
Try to hone in on like one point you want like Stuart to answer or whatever.
I know. I'm just asking. Like,
what are you asking?
I understand what he's asking, and it's like, as I said, I can't. I'm the same way with consequence. I'm not perfect. I can't give you all the answers. But what I'll say about how the Bible was biblically written.
I wasn't asking about that, Stuart. I was asking a different question.
You're asking about the different accounts of who Mary.
No, I was asking him about he can't can he not charge his phone while
no one's gonna have that answer for him now. He's gone. So like, let's move on from that.
Yeah, he can't force it. If he don't want to, if he was
going, what?
You did good,
he
Braden.
left.
You did good. It's over now. Now we can move on.
I was talking to Stuart. What?
He didn't
No, you
want
weren't
to talk
talking to
anymore.
Stuart. You were talking to the other guy.
I was talking to Stuart right now. He was just talking. What? I was just talking to Stuart.
Just responded to Stuart, but Stuart wasn't the one that you were like debating with.
No, I'm saying I'm talking to him. He was trying to answer his question that the other dude was talking about, right? And I told him that's not the question I was asking him just before.
Okay,
right?
Braden, what question do you have for Stuart?
Stuart was asking me a question. Was actually finishing the question that I answered. I asked him.
Okay, how do we move
Stuart's
forward?
a Christian, right?
You're lost, Braden. I'm sorry.
What do you mean?
Right, Stuart?
Yeah, I'm a Christian.
Oh my God.
What?
Braden, listen. Braden, try to lock in a little bit. Just relax, okay? Stuart's a Christian on the
you
panel.
don't tell me
right?
to relax.
Oh, okay. Oh my God.
Well, but you're not being productive right now. What are you being so argumentative for?
I wasn't talking. We was on a whole different thing.
That didn't answer my question.
We were on a different thing. You asked the person who left why he couldn't charge his phone, and then you're saying that you were asking Stuart that, which doesn't make sense in the dialectic. There's no.
No, I was telling
would be able to give you the
Stuart.
answer.
I was not asking him about the other person about that question. I was asking him about a different question. Right? That's what I was telling Stuart. I wasn't telling Stuart about what he was talking about. I was telling Stuart that I wasn't talking about that question to him. I was talking to him about a different question. The other dude that was just off. I wasn't talking to him about that
I feel
question.
like we're getting stuck in the meta, and I don't feel like you conveyed that very well. I'm sorry.
Okay, then let's just move on.
What do you mean?
I would like to,
You know what?
if it's
Good
okay,
night,
I'd like to ask Stuart a question.
Go ahead.
Just to kind of help the conversation here.
Okay, if
So-
it's about contradictions, I'm not as deep into that. But
Actually, I'm willing to grant like that the resurrection happened and the whole story, the narrative. I want to play with those toys right now for a moment.
all right.
Okay. So, for God so loved, sent his only begotten son. He unalived for my sins. He overcame unalivement. And that's the basic word, right? That's the foundation of Christian soteriology, correct?
What is happening?
John 3:16.
John 3:16 and everything that follows, which is the sacrifice, the atonement for my sins, right?
For God so loved the world that he sent his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. Yes.
Okay. So I wanna just walk a really quick analogy here. And let's say that I'm gonna use me as the character of the sinner, as this godless atheist that doesn't have any foundation for my morals.
Damn.
And I decide to unalive someone. And I'm caught red-handed. The cops arrest me. They've got witnesses, the family, they've got the tool that I used, all the evidence. They take me to court. I'm convicted by, the jury. I'm convicted by, the jury, guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt. The judge bangs the gavel and says, okay, I hereby sentence you to life in prison. But just then, the judge's son bursts into the courtroom and says, I'll take the punishment. And the judge looks at me and says, "Do you accept this?" And I say, "Yes, I accept it." And the judge says, "Okay, take away my son, take him away, put him in the holding cell." And then as I walk out of the courtroom, I stop and I look at the family and I tell them, like, I hope you can find it in your hearts to forgive me, but this court has forgiven me, so I'm going to repent and go live my best life now. Now, the judge's son goes to the holding cell for a little less than 2 days, and then he picks the lock and he escapes and he vanishes, never to be seen again. Now, the question is this: in that scenario, which is a point-by-point analogy of this soteriology that Christianity adheres to, at what point in that analogy has justice been served, or has an act of love occurred, or an act of mercy?
Like, for your sake?
For anyone's sake.
Okay. So I think I know what you're getting. Are you saying that my brain is like ticking through this? I'm sorry.
Shit, you talking about Jesus?
But it's an act of love. So when Jesus was on the cross and they say he knew no sin became sin, it means that he lived a sinless life, but when he became sin and he cries, "Father, why have you forsaken me?" he literally becomes sin. He becomes lust, rage.
That's a dope song.
It's not based on a song.
You listen, yeah, it's based on System of a Down. I like that the Bible uses the same lyrics as them.
The Bible doesn't. Okay, whatever. But Jesus cries out and he says, "Father, why have you forsaken me?" Because in that moment, for the first time in his life, he literally could not feel the presence of God because he took on all of the sin of the world, and he dies. The act of love is without the death of Jesus. It's like we're going to just stay in our sinless and our sinful lives, that we will walk in it, and we have not the invitation to have everlasting life with him.
Okay, but hang on real quick. I gotta pause real quick, because I did repent as I left the courtroom, and I never unalived anyone again. I never sinned again. Okay, in that scenario, in my analogy, but the key of it is this: is that Jesus picked the lock. I'm sorry, the judge's son picked the lock. So was there actually a sacrifice made, or was it just this performative gesture that was completely unnecessary when God himself can just simply forgive us of our sins?
Say that one more time. Like, I'm understanding, but just say it one more time so I can pick it apart in my brain.
The fact that Jesus overcame unalivement is the equivalent of the judge's son picking the lock. So the punishment for my sin never got fulfilled.
Yeah, but
just because the judge's son burst into the courtroom and said, "I'll take the punishment," but here's the thing: is that the judge's son had a copy of the jail cell key.
So you're comparing it to that he picked the lock. You're talking about the resurrection, that he came back from the dead.
Well, yeah, his dad made the jail, so like he knew the plans, like all the plans.
The problem with what you're saying is that you're comparing it to, he just got thrown in a cell and he walked out scarless, not beaten and bruised, not whipped, not physically damaged to the point of all beyond recognition. The guy didn't die in your analogy.
Wait until I tell you where he had to hide that extra jail cell key. He had to put it way up in his prison purse.
Amen.
Amen. There was some suffering
involved
in my analogy.
Fair, that's a lot of damage for a human, but like apparently he was like God too at the same time. So was that a lot of damage for God?
Anal.
Yes. That's the part. Okay. That's part of like the sacrifice that makes it so much, is that God became his son, sent himself down as Jesus.
I like that. Now let me modify the analogy just a little bit. So when the judge finds me guilty and sentences me to life in prison, So when the judge finds me guilty and sentences me to life in prison, instead of his son bursting through the room, the judge gets up and rips off his robes, puts on a pair of Groucho glasses, and says, "I'll take the punishment for you." And they take him away to the cell, and he escapes and vanishes, never to be seen again.
But now you're taking away the judge's son.
I modify the analogy to when you said
You're
that
modifying the analogy to make it where it's only one person.
when you
Right.
said that God when you said that God became his own son, when you said that's you were using an identity of God being God. Now he's taken a role of his own son. So that's the analogy where I had to modify the analogy to take away this other person walking into the room, and now it's the judge himself just taking off his robe and becoming a different character. But it's the same person.
God is one in three persons.
Yeah.
Well, then that fits then the analogy works better with there not being a son walking into the room, but the judge just adapting a different persona.
Christ is the judge.
Did you follow the beginning of my analogy?
Yeah, I think that
What if the judge cloned himself and said, "Oh, this is my clone"?
It's just a Trinitarian God.
Yeah, it's a Trinitarian God because it's like identical to him because it's a clone, but it's not him because it's like in a different physical space.
Oh, it's one.
But the question that's not getting answered is, where has justice occurred? If there was no sacrifice, because remember, whoever decided to go take the punishment for me escaped. They picked the lock and escaped. So they didn't really make the
I
sacrifice.
moved to mistrial.
Wait, who was who? What do you mean?
Hearsay.
So he's using the analogy that that God is the juror and Jesus as the juror's son walks into the room, or not the juror, the judge's son walks into the room and he pardons us, and then he has to go to a jail cell, and then he picks the lock 3 days later and walks out.
Oh, that's an odd analogy.
Yeah.
Well, it's a point-by-point analogy of Christian soteriology.
For Eastern Orthodox theology, we just believe he defeated death in human flesh so that we could live eternally again. It's not really like
That's the lock he picked. That's the lock he picked.
Oh, this is
he didn't really sacrifice.
It's not really like a justice thing.
Yeah, but
it's like a healing thing.
Yeah, and the sacrifice was himself of what he had to go through.
I like the apostolic tradition.
Thank you. Me too.
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, for the prompt, probably so you could live forever, so you can defeat death.
Why? I should return to Christianity so I can live forever and defeat death.
Yeah, because death is pretty bad, right?
I mean,
Learn some sick combo moves for the devil.
It ain't gonna be a party down there, buddy.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, but
Yes,
I mean,
it will.
I'll go there knowing I'm morally superior to this creator.
How?
Holy shoot. That's a crazy statement. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
absolutely. I'll stand on all 10 toes.
Crazy to say you think he deserves to go there. That's what's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
I'll
he
stand on all 10 toes and I will
Actually, we
swan
all
dive
deserve
into
to
the
go
flames,
down below.
knowing that I am morally
That's
superior
crazy, Gabriella.
to this
That's what we're
petty,
saying.
We deserve the other one?
capricious.
Yeah, definitely.
Wait, heaven?
Hold on. I want to hear how
How?
everlasting
We're all
thinks
bad.
he's more morally superior than
Bad?
created.
Yes, we
We're a
are.
product
Light
of,
years.
we're a
I think
product of
I
our
am
upbringing
too.
and our
Hey,
The morality
surroundings.
that this guy.
You're
Wait, too many people are talking.
probably more morally superior too.
Who?
Everybody up here.
You didn't put me
I'm
in the
guessing
garden.
you are more of a humanist than your God is.
Yeah, I know I wasn't in the garden, but I've still made my own bad choices.
You flood the world.
Honestly believe you deserve hell?
Yes.
God, like
I hate that for
That's why
you.
I'm so grateful for God.
I
So, if you think you
say that's
deserve
not a
hell,
good
like why
position
are
to
you
do.
grateful for God? Like, what if you end up in hell?
Because he gives
That's my
us
own fault.
the everlasting
Are you going to
life.
be grateful for God still?
I was grateful for God the moment he revealed himself to me. That was enough.
talking about?
It sounds like you need to forgive yourself, I
The
think,
one, the one that created hell that he needs to belong in.
Stuff.
That God.
Bloody hell, mate.
You said Smas deserve hell. I believe you, but like you're not. I
Who's
don't know you
that?
very well, but I don't know if
Oh no, I
you
meant
deserve
God.
hell.
I meant God, the one who created hell deserves hell. I meant God
He
deserves
actually
hell.
created it for Satan.
Oh, God deserves hell. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry if
Uh,
it came out weird.
He does not.
Like,
It's
the only
not.
thing that deserves to be in hell is
He
God.
actually
how come
already went
Satan
there.
gets to torture us there?
He doesn't. That's not even biblical. It says that nowhere.
Tortured there?
Hmm?
I say there's never a very
Well, I
clear
saw a lot of Sunday
description.
morning cartoons, and that's where they make the devil like poke you
Probably
with
like
like a
Protestant,
trident or
not
something.
denominational
There's never a
theology.
clear depiction of hell in
Oh, they
scripture.
don't
Yeah.
do
It talks about
cartoons in Eastern
fire and outer
Orthodoxy.
darkness,
No.
right?
Our
But it
theology
talks
is very
about
different.
fire and outer darkness. But basically, hell is the separation of God,
Mm-hmm.
right? Why would you want to be separate from the one who gave you all these gifts? Like
Like
quite a
life.
few of
Why do I
them
want to spend
obviously
eternity
have
anywhere?
rational thinking minds.
Why do I want to spend eternity anywhere, let alone with somebody specifically or something
Well, that's part of the
specifically?
invitation. God says, "Listen, He respects your choice. If you want to, have a relationship with me on earth, that's great. You'll come into heaven and be in my kingdom with me. But He respects
Free
your
will in?
choice."
Do we have free will in heaven?
Your will is perfectly aligned with God's will in heaven, so.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask, like, what if I,
Yeah, exactly. It's God's will. It wouldn't be our own will, so no free will in heaven. Got it.
well,
Okay.
what if I go
No.
to heaven and I realize that
That's unusual.
God has sent someone I love to hell and I'm sad about it for eternity?
He erases your memory.
Oh, then I'm not really me. I'm going to heaven with a lobotomy is weird. I don't want
Church,
that
But
either.
in
it
my
says
church,
that you will still be you. You'll have a different name, but you will be able to recognize your loved ones that are there.
But what about the loved
Have a
ones I
different
have that
name.
like hang on, if I can't recognize that some of my loved ones aren't there, I feel like I'm not really me.
Eh,
So at that
here's
point, what
How
does it
would you
matter?
this is
how
gonna
would you be
sound
able
really
to
dark.
tell if you
The way
have
I
free
think
will
about it
on
is
earth,
maybe
let alone in heaven? Like how would you be able to tell you have free will now?
how do we have free will now? Because of love.
Love is
That's
not
the
free
simple
will.
answer. It's
Well, yeah,
because of
love is not
love.
free will. Love is
Okay.
chemical reactions that we don't really have that much control over.
If have you ever gone out on a scientific date? Or
What
here,
is a
let's put it in this.
scientific date?
It's not possible. That's
Us.
what it is.
Actually, I
Jesse,
was
would you
gonna
like to go
say,
out on a scientific date with me and
Dude,
let's
I'm
go
conduct
done.
fossil
experiments?
hunting.
Hang on, can we go to the Creation Museum? I think that would be the perfect
Ooh,
scientific date. Let's go,
yes.
Tiny. Scored.
So here's my analogy of love. Love is free, and it has to be free, right? If you're dating a guy or a girl, and all of a sudden, a few months later, your dad calls you and he goes, "Hey, I've been paying your partner $100 a week to stay with you and love you." You'd be pretty bummed out because then you know it's not love because it's bought. They didn't love you out of their own free will.
Hmm. Oh, where did the girl go?
I don't
Oh
know.
man.
No.
This is why
Went to
women
go
need to.
find.
This is why
Stuart?
women need to deconstruct. Women have no business. Like, there's nothing for women in this bullshit.
Stuart, do you believe that we are born with free will?
Yes.
If I didn't consent to exist, how am I born with free will?
Huh? Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but like my mind is trying to wrap around it.
I have a better question. What even is free will? What is that?
I
That's
mean,
not
you
a
have the
better
choice to
question,
do what you want.
Tiny. My
I mean,
question was better.
you could go out and ram your
That's your
car
question.
through a
What
building.
is free will?
There we go.
I have a
Like,
better question. Who is free will?
We're having a free will measuring contest at this point.
Free Willy.
Wow.
No, no, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm being silly.
Free silly. We're born with free silliness. That's it.
What is free will? But nobody asks, how is free will? How is it doing? Is it all right?
How are you doing, Free Will? Will,
No one even
I've been
asked.
thinking about you.
No one even asked Will why it's free.
Yes, Myro or Miro, you may speak.
But Stuart, was it you that was saying something, or who was making an argument before?
about like what point?
Oh, about like any point. But I was just wondering who was making the argument last or something.
What's your opinion on Vegemite?
Oh, it just came up.
But I guess, anyone can take it over. Myro, got anything to say? Anyone?
Yeah. So, like, the topic says, why should I return to Christianity? Well, to be honest, the Abraham biblical God from the Bible actually doesn't point to religion. It points to having a relationship. And I would personally say that relationship is better than religion because religion is also man-made, meaning it can be corrupted and things of that nature.
I agree.
Okay. But, so your whole thing is going to be to have a relationship with God, basically?
Yeah, and I believe you don't need a religion to have a relationship with God.
I'm not really sure if God wants to have a relationship with me, to be honest.
Joke's on you. Coco's bad at relationships.
On God.
Oh, why would you say that?
So God wants to have a relationship with everybody because he loves you so much.
I don't really think he does.
Well, that love is
Why would you say
shown
that?
when he sent his son to die on a cross. You want to know what that says? He didn't die because of you. He died for you. What I'm saying is that God loved you so much that he sent his son to die so that our sins could be forgiven. And he says that even if I never get a thing out of you, even if you never accept me, even if you never want a thing to do with me or come into a relationship with me, I'm still going to love you, and I'm still going to send my son to die for you.
I just don't see how that's a sign of love, though. Like sending my son to unalive for you. Like that's I have a really hard time grasping the fact that that's an ultimate showing of love.
That was the whole point of my courtroom analogy. Is like how has an act of love occurred there?
Would you sacrifice your child for someone else? That'd be a
So
pretty.
do you think that people should be loving each other more by sacrificing their children for each other?
Yeah, it's just a weird concept. I don't understand. How do you draw a line from your sins being forgiven to somebody else's sacrifice? That doesn't it doesn't follow logically in any way. No matter how you try to stretch it and pretzel it into some kind of narrative, it doesn't follow. And I'm not one Christian in 40 years of me asking this question has even come close to an answer for it. I just get a bunch of platitudes and just a bunch of fluff. I don't get anything with substance.
Fluffing us.
Oh God, I don't want to be fluffed. But go ahead, Myra. What were you gonna say?
Well, before I answer everlasting, you made a claim that isn't logical follow. That doesn't break a single law of logic, just letting you know. But now I'm gonna get to my claim on how that's love. Number one, we believe that Jesus is God, meaning Jesus is a part of God, but he's obviously not greater because he comes from God, the Father.
Yeah, those are those platitudes I was just talking about. Fluffy platitudes. Just vapid, empty statements that mean nothing.
Well, hang on. Even if that's the case, how is it a sacrifice if he sent a fee to himself to go back to himself?
Because
if I give someone $100 and I know I'm going to get it back, I'm not sacrificing it.
Because he gave of himself, he went through physical pain on the cross.
Literal sin.
I mean, yeah, but he's God, so pain isn't like that bad for him. He has infinite experience, technically.
That isn't true. When someone puts himself inside a human form, it means they feel what us humans would feel. Meaning that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but he has the constitution of a god. Like, what did he do?
But he put himself inside a physical form, meaning that everything we would have felt, he felt as well.
More constitution than Superman?
It wouldn't matter because he was still in physical human form. He wasn't in human form. His body wasn't special.
I mean, technically, Superman's a Kryptonian, I think.
Did he know? Did Jesus know that he would overcome unalivement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
okay. Then he didn't make a sacrifice.
Well, let me answer that.
Coming, right? He knew his sacrifice was coming, and he says in the
there was no sacrifice. He did not remain unalived. He did not remain unalived. He knew that he would overcome unalivement.
No, he says because he knew
that he would. If he knew that he would re-alive, he just took a nap. He took a nap for about 40 hours.
Well, that's like manipulation at this point. That's literal manipulation.
Yeah, it's performative. It's performative nonsense. It means nothing.
Because he says,
and sin still exists. Newsflash. He did nothing. He did nothing to even put a dent in mankind's iniquities.
Still went through it.
Yeah,
I try to
kind of
explain to
true.
online. So like one thing I like to say is number one, his divine nature and his human nature, they don't mix, meaning in his human nature, he also did not know because he did not know. If a man was to not know, then he would come back to know, was to put his life on the line for you. That obviously shows love. And when you bring up the idea,
What's happening right now?
I don't see how
What's
that
even happening?
obviously. I don't see how that obviously shows love. That's where we're getting hung up. Is that the fact that people keep saying it obviously shows love
Okay, now wait, for me, first we'll have a conversation. What is your definition of love?
of love?
Yeah, what is your definition
Something
of love?
meaningful, something that's actually. You know what?
Empathetic.
Empathetic. Something that's empathetic.
Yep.
Or I typically just take the Roman
A,
Catholic
a, a,
definition of
sto- a
love.
strong sense of affection and consideration to another, typically aligned with the same valuing as yourself, at least.
And I don't see any contribution in someone sacrificing themselves, or any contribution of affection, or any of empathy, anything like that, and
the reason why I would say
sacrificing somebody.
I don't feel like love should hurt or cause physical harm or unalivement. That's not love.
Yeah.
so
Or be manipulative.
So we don't me verse is that your name? Sorry. Okay, me versus me. The whole idea of it shouldn't.
Okay. What if Deadpool took 3 days to regenerate from being like crucified too? You know, like would you be like, oh, that's such a good sacrifice, or would you be like, no, you're Deadpool, dumbass, just get down already?
Deadpool Jesus. That was revealed. You know, it was revealed. It was documented and revealed
in that movie. That was great.
So
goes through all the suffering. He just is really good at handling it.
Wait, was it Deadpool Jesus or Wolverine Jesus?
No, it was Deadpool.
Who's Deadpool?
He was the one that kept looking right in the camera and being really blasphemous, and all the Christians were very unhappy about it. They got sad about it.
Can I ask a question?
Doesn't like Deadpool.
Damn. Nah, truly cosmic. Deadpool is not annoying. Yo, what are you talking about? Did you even watch that movie?
Trolling.
Christ, Phil, what's your question?
What evidence would be required for people to believe that Christ actually did die and resurrect to break the grip of death, eternal death, for us to have eternal life?
Any sources?
You said contemporary. So you're saying if something is too old, it can't be recognized?
What? No, contemporary is in
like a bunch of independent sources from that time that confirms this event.
Okay.
Like for example, in Matthew, there's a claim that zombies rose from the grave, and there's nothing outside of that particular scripture alone, let alone the other gospels, don't mention it. But it's not mentioned in any of the first century Hebrew writings, Josephus, nothing like that. Nobody makes any mentions of dead saints. I'm sorry, unalived saints realiving. That would have been newsworthy. People would have noticed that.
Well, one thing in the book of Ezekiel and in the book of Micah, we're going to find that the Savior is actually going to make that he's going to be able to raise all people from the dead. And he went down into Hades to preach the gospel, and those that received it, they rose up. Those are the saints that they were talking about, and that even if they never recorded it, we would actually make an assumption that would have happened because of the prophetic view of the Jews of the coming of the Messiah. Daniel 7 is a very good depiction of them actually coming back and bringing wrath upon those that were in Jerusalem.
Yeah, because I'm sure they couldn't just read those Old Testament passages and then just write their narrative into that. That would be beyond, belief, right? That's completely incredulous to believe.
I mean, is that not what you're doing by taking out of it what you want?
No, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the fact that the New Testament authors looked at some Old Testament passages and said, oh, we can just say this. We can just write this as the narrative.
But that's not
and say, look, prophecy.
The Bible was written.
Right, so a theophany, can I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, so a theophany is a rejection of a correlation, and it must equal causation. So you're saying, well, if it's correlated, then that can't be acknowledged. But if it's causated, then it can be acknowledged. So prophecy is causated, not correlated. It's actually there's an actual thing that we can view, like the coming of, like Daniel 7 and 9, where the Ancient of Days. I just wanted to finish. So the Ancient of Days would come on the clouds in heaven, and Josephus writes in Jewish War about a war that actually took place, an explosion from inside the temple, and the coming on the clouds of the Ancient of Days. That's what I'm talking about. Stuff like that is, or Psalm 22 depicts the idea of crucifixion, and the entire concept of it was written 550 years before crucifixion was invented by the Romans, that we know scientifically.
All I'm saying.
Psalm 22, it says he'll be pierced for our transgressions, he'll be blah blah blah, all that. When they
So why do they say that's being pierced by lions?
No, it says that you're going to be pierced by metal objects. If you actually go back and read the Greek Septuagint,
You can read the Septuagint. It's not pierced by metal objects.
Right. In fact, the translation just of the word pierced alone translates closer to bound or wounded.
Right. So
It's not actually a piercing. There is actually
gouged. There's
gouged,
even
yeah.
closer gouged.
Right.
And
If it's
David
that,
uses
then you're reading into it what you want.
Well, I'm
You're
just
demonstrating
defining the words in their context of the language that they were written in or interpreted.
Are you a
so
Greek
when you're
scholar?
talking about like the New Testament authors, we can see that they were translating the Old Testament through the lens of the Greek
Smiles, you got my
Septuagint. And, yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm actually referring to is the Jewish perspective. And can you mute that, please?
Tiny,
can you mute, please?
Oh shit!
Tiny.
Yeah.
Let it be. Let it be.
Right. Now, I'm saying that the Jews believe that there were two different versions of God, one that they can see and one that would be in heaven. And all I'm demonstrating is that not only do the Christians believe that, but the Jews also believe that. And that entire concept actually starts.
You're not moving the needle toward. You're not moving the needle away from.
I'm trying to demonstrate my point. That so, by reading it from that paradigm, right? Not a 2025 paradigm where we're able to look back and say, well, I'm much better than them, empathy. But in all actuality, what I'm saying is the book of Ezekiel, the book of Daniel, the book of Micah, and the book of Isaiah alludes to this. Even Isaiah 53 is very clear. The Messiah will be a prophet ben Joseph and prophet ben David. And it's going to be coming from the line
It's hard
of
to disagree
Joseph
with
or
that.
David.
Anybody else?
Yeah, it's oh, my dog is throwing up. Hang on, I
So
gotta
you
tend
said
to my
one or
dog.
two, like more than one, basically.
Sorry
is what
about
you're
your
saying.
dog.
You're like, I need more than
Yeah,
one source. Okay, well,
I
then
would
you have a
read
Jewish source.
Ezekiel 23:20 for this, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
How about you could look it up if you have your.
I can't.
I don't have my Bible.
I'm incapable right now. It's impossible. I'm driving. I'm not
Well,
driving.
I would,
but I'm like-
at your earliest
my truck-
convenience.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just saying, at your
okay.
earliest convenience, look up Ezekiel 23:20.
Okay. What is it alluding to?
Hold on, I can look it up. Ezekiel 23:20.
Yeah, shed some light on it for us, Stuart.
Yeah, I got my Bible here. Hold on. I'm in paper. I'm not a new age technologist. You'll have to bear with me for a sec.
Y'all tap the screen. And hope your dog's okay, Everlasting.
So
It
you
sounds
said
pretty rough.
Ezekiel 23 what?
20.
All right. It says, then she lusted after her lovers, whose genitals were like those of donkeys, and whose emission was like that of horses. So
Oh my
you
God.
longed for the lewdness
Amen.
of your youth.
Clear message.
Oh my God! Wow.
Okay, but what's the context of the story? You can't just cherry pick a verse and then be like, oh, blah blah blah.
Can't cherry pick a verse, y'all.
Jesus Christ.
You're popping them verses.
No.
Well, I think can I allude to the prompt? more than anything, I guess. Can I at least allude to that? Can I talk about that or no?
Go for it.
Yeah, I think like one thing I love about people that are like secular humanists is that they believe in meritocracy and data.
But yeah, I think your phone's ringing.
It's God. Look at God, y'all. Amen.
Hey Jesse, what is God?
God?
What is God?
My rose toy.
Oh my God.
I just wanted to hear you say God's a bitch. I love when
God
I
is
hear
a
you say
bitch.
that. I love
I'm
hearing
sorry,
you
my
say
brother. I'm sorry, my brother was bringing me some papers. Hold on. My brother was bringing me some papers. I'm sorry. Hold on.
You're good.
God is a
I'll
bitch. God, it's best for God's reputation that he remain imaginary. Because God being a bitch, it's best that he's imaginary and a bitch than real and a bitch. That's my
Yeah,
claim.
it's crazy.
Humanists believe in egalitarianism, and that's, well, I don't know what you're going to say.
Empathy.
No, I'll actually give credit to them because they care about the data and what's good for humanity, and I agree with that completely. I put like if you're an atheist or if you're a Catholic, you have a very high unaliving yourself rate, but if you're not and you're like Orthodox or something else or Muslim, for example, you have a very low unaliving yourself rate. So like that's the type of stuff I care about. So if we're talking about what agenda I'm going to push for all of society, I would want less people to unalive themselves and more people to like actually get.
Sounds like you're not solving for outside factors of like extremely
You're making
pressurized
doing a correlation
systems.
causation thing.
Yeah.
No. All that I'm saying is there's a world.
Weird that the people in power wield this sort of luxury that they have this lower rate of unalivement, right?
No, yeah.
I also love how EOs they think their farts don't stink.
Who? EOs?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I don't understand. Why would an EO?
I actually invented a word for it, and it's called a sadophlatuliophile. It's somebody who loves sniffing their own farts.
I mean, mine don't stink.
I believe you.
So you think? So do you think that I'm EO?
Thought you just alluded as though that were the case.
Oh no, I didn't make any claim. I didn't know how you got that, but no, I was just saying.
You were praising how Eastern Orthodox have a low self-unaliving rate.
Yeah, they do.
I thought you were advocating for Eastern Orthodox.
Now, well, I would say the Muslim.
What's the data for this, by the way? Like, where do I find this statistic?
Yeah, I was about to ask.
I can't. Yeah, I can't recall right off the top of my head. It was. I think it was a. I can't say specifically because that would be wrong. I don't remember.
Well, you should have. Did you not double check this?
No, I'm saying I looked at it about a week ago, but I don't remember the citation, so I came unprepared. I apologize.
You need stats. We need them stats.
Yeah, I mean, you guys.
Usually with a claim like that, I would say according to X and X website or organization.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. I probably shouldn't have brought it up if I'm going to use it as a truth claim. I agree. I'll take it back. I'm just saying I commend secular humanists for the reason that they value meritocracy or the data to give us an assumption about what's the best paradigm to view the world and also worldview to live out.
I mean, I see the harm principle as a pretty good guide to, what the way we should dictate, how our society operates, how we prioritize humanity over, say, economics.
Right. So general consensus and sense data. So like a Stefan Molyneux non-aggression principle is kind of what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, of sorts. I mean, yeah. I personally adhere to the tenets of secular humanism. It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I understand. I guess I'm not going to go into the pre-sub arguments. I'm not going to do that tonight, but I will say that the data flushes out a pretty good and solid idea of how society is supposed to be run. and to put that on the shoulders of Protestantism in the West is actually it's going to collapse under its own weight. It's not founded or grounded in anything real, except for stupidity at large.
According to just a preemptive Google, it would appear as though the self-unalivement rate of Muslims are higher, almost 3 percentage points higher than Protestants. Catholics are, let's just say 7.9% of Muslims.
According to whose data?
Right. Yeah, this is PMC, NCBO, NMM.gov. And
Yeah,
I mean, that's just a preliminary
you can't do like
search.
the National Library of Medicine. Who controls the National Library of Medicine?
Shut up, Floopy.
Well,
You go
my
trust
only
a
thing is that,
.gov?
and anything that leans toward like
The Jewish people have the lowest. They have the lowest unalivement rate.
I agree.
Self unalivement rate.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, all that I'm saying is
So
that
let's all
I
go
think
get
that it should be-
circumcised.
Does my dad count if he drank himself to death as an evangelical?
Well, I believe that they'll all be raised personally, but yeah.
I'm not sure what to say about it.
I blame you psychos that believe in like the conspiracy stuff. I'm not talking at you, Coach, by the way. I just mean like in general, the crazies that like go out into numerology and all this stuff. And Protestantism leads to it a lot more. So I have a soft spot for EO because at least you're like sticking to the teachings of the time more, you know?
Sure. I don't represent EO at all in any possible capacity.
Okay, I misread
if you're a
that.
Protestant,
My apologies.
I am not a Protestant. Not even close. That's far. Yeah, not even a little bit.
That means, is that like Catholic or Mormon? It's like, I don't know what's left.
Yeah, I'm definitely not Mormon. I'm definitely not Catholic. I'm not any of them. No.
Jehovah's Witness? I don't know what's left.
What's going on
here? Say? I said I can
Nomination.
Are
you a Branch Davidian?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm in between. I'm in a soft spot in between. I'm on
Seventh-day Adventist?
No.
How many Christianity do you?
Scientologist?
I would actually just land on, I don't know if you guys are well versed, but like in Isaiah 1, between the verses of 13 to 17, I think that's more of a, like, what you said, the tenets of secular humanism. I think a lot of that lands in that same area, and that's kind of the same way that I do things like, how do you care for your neighbor that broke her arm and her husband died 5 years ago, or unalive 5 years ago? That's what I'm talking about, like, actually live out your life in a way as if you believe that something good actually could come out of anything, and actually do it. Like, that's what I find to be the most important thing. Now, should you have a group of people that you go to? Yeah, I think that we need each other. Generally speaking, I think we all need each other, and we should stop.
We're a social species.
Throwing stones. Yeah, and I just disagree with a lot of the, I guess, the pillars or the structure of things in a way that's so rigid that doesn't allow for logical, rational thought. That's how cults begin and end. So I'm not a fan. So, yeah, I don't know if that's the answer that you were looking for, but I'm sorry. I don't really land on any one specific thing. I just think there's a lot of good in Scripture that I'm going to actually live out for the rest of my life. It doesn't matter what anybody tells me. I'm just going to do it because I think it's good morally, and it's the right thing to do. Yeah.
Is that a Detroit revving under your hood right now?
It's a Cummins 500 horsepower.
Oh, it's not the X15?
It is not. No, it's an ISX.
X2.
Yeah, it's nice, dude. It's, oh my goodness. This top end's banging. It's awesome.
You should call him.
I'm sorry. Let me hit my microphone. But I just want y'all to know, I'm not going to try to prove that Christianity is true, but I am going to say is that if you were to act as if it was, or at least take some of the tenets of it, I think that we're already going in the right direction. And people that have low IQ probably should take a look at these things because they're in desperate need of an actual foundation principle that's going to be rooted in something that's loving and good and kind and helpful, not just stupidity. Yeah. So,
I think it's possible for I think it's possible for a lot of people to come to those like same values that align with those tenets without ever being exposed to them. Like, and I'm
I
not
think
saying like
I think it's
like a
healthier.
conclusion of God, but like I think a lot of people like can not have to be exposed to like scripture or to the idea of God or religion in the way like it like to understand the tenets to still like have values that align with that.
I actually think that, like the liberal left, they hit on a lot of them, and they're overlooked for it in a lot of cases. And I subscribe to a lot of their ideology and their art because I absolutely sign up for that. In my mind and in my heart, I know that what they're trying to do is absolutely correct. But my thought about it is that I don't know, I can't dictate how other people are going to live their life. Therefore, that makes me fall back on some sort of structure. Although I'm very much a non-aggression principle libertarian in a lot of ways. So I didn't mean to go political. I'm just saying that kind of ties into the way that I live my life. That's all I'm saying.
What's your
And I
opinion
think
on
that,
Ayn Rand?
yeah, I don't really care for her at all. I don't really, I think a great thought, great thinker.
All right.
But
She's the
I'm
worst.
really more of a Stefan Molyneux type of person because he dealt with things that Ayn Rand never dealt with. So I land on I don't know. Do you guys? Does anybody know who Stefan Molyneux is?
Good bell.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
The libertarian tenets at all. Yeah, like I don't care much for it myself. In elements of it, I can accept, but by and large, I think we're a social species, and libertarianism is
more isolationist. It's too much. It's too decentralized. Is what you're saying, right? Are you saying that it's too decentralized?
that rugged individualism. No,
that's a boomer. That's like a boomer mentality. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm not talking about that.
I kind of reject that.
I lean toward the modern version. That's why I alluded to Stefan Molyneux. I don't know if you guys want to check him out, but he's pretty fantastic.
Well, I might go to sleep soon.
Okay.
What's that?
What do you mean?
Did you guys just say what's sleep?
Yeah, like we don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh my god.
I haven't slept in like 3 days.
Oh my god.
I've been really busy. I've slept like 5 hours in the last.
Can you teach me how to do that?
No. I wouldn't do that to anybody. I work third shift is the main problem.
Sorry. But much love, y'all. I gotta go. It's about to get loud. Good night.
Somebody gonna go live?
Who wants to go live, actually?
Jessie says she would.
God damn it.
That's done, Jesse.
I might even come over there, but I might fall asleep too. I don't know.
I'll fall asleep on. We've slept together plenty of times on your live, Coco.
Yeah,
Fun.
definitely.
Cyber cuddles.
Pretty much.
Nothing wrong with a cuddle. Okay. Cool.
All right.
Just
Hey, thanks for letting me hang out with y'all, and I'll see you over there.
Absolutely. Come back anytime.
See ya.